And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Friday, January 13th. And I guess that's why this slate is as weird as it is. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by No House Advantage. 9-game slate on the docket. But for the first time in what I can say is forever, for a slate of this size, we just don't have any of the real high-end fantasy performers. I don't have a single person on FanDuel projected north of 50 fantasy points. That creates a very interesting dynamic with the way that this slate will play out, I guess, for some people. So I'm excited to talk about it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, what do you think about this slate? Very unique.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting as well. I thought it was this morning when you just didn't have anything to pay up for other than Jokic. And then now you don't even have Jokic. So, I have two people projected above 50 fantasy points on DraftKings, and that's it. Really, really interesting slate.
I have one. And it's not as if they're projecting for 58 or 59. I have Levine just shy of it. Domantas Sabonis just over it. It's going to be a really crazy one. We don't see it like this every day. Nicholas hit us with a super chat. I want to get it out of the way quick. 3 Nuggets okay in single entry? Yes.
Yep.
900 or 9,900 left over for a stud. Should I go to Kawhi or leave 800 on the table for Levine, all for DK? It's a 2-part answer, I think.
Depends what you can improve.
Yeah.
Actually, I have Levine projected ahead of Kawhi, so you probably can still improve something.
Yeah, there's absolutely no problem going with Kawhi and using all of that salary, depending on how that lineup actually grades out. I have no idea. But I have Levine pretty sizably, not sizably, but I have Levine ahead of Kawhi. Levine would be the better option. Can you find anything better to do with those $900 is really what the question is.
Right. They project close enough that they're basically the same. Chances are you can just improve something if you go to Levine.
Yep. For the NBA, it's different. I don't think that leaving $900 on a 9-game slate is going to be the right move more often than not. That's too much. If you were like, I got $300 left over, it's okay, you could probably just, probably not worth the work. But $900 is a legitimate movement in tiers. You ready to do this? We got a lot to talk about.
Just as an example right now, I have Fantasy Cruncher running in the background, and I have my salary floor on DraftKings set at 49.5. But even just looking through the lineups that it's building me, there's nothing coming up below 49.7.
Yeah, it's I can let it rip with pretty heavy randomness and still not get anything that just leaves a shit ton on the table.
Yeah, here's the way the pieces fit. 49.6.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's even without me forcing it, it's just going to find better lineups.
The New Orleans Pelicans are 4.5-point favorites in Detroit. 232 total for the Pels. Q tag on Herb Jones. Still no Brandon Ingram. Still no Zion Williamson. Not too much to write home here. Obviously, a matchup against the Pistons is going to be beneficial, but we kind of know what's happening now with the Pelicans at this point. Najee Marshall's pulling some ownership in the mid-tier. CJ is largely unowned like he normally is and is a very interesting GPP option. No real priorities for me from the Pelicans. Do you see anything different?
No, I don't think there's any true priorities. I still think CJ McCollum looks good, as a tournament piece. He's not going to be a priority, though, because you have the guards on Indiana. You have Jamal Murray without Jokic. As a result, McCollum only pulling about 8% ownership. We have him with about an 11% chance of being optimal. If the slate started right now, I would have about 11%. Jose Alvarado projected to go a bit under-owned at 4,200. I think he's a reasonable pivot, either away from the Indiana guys or, you can play him in addition to them as well. He's only pulling 2% ownership, 8% chance of being optimal. But again, not somebody you're building around, just an interesting tournament play. Najee Marshall, small forward eligible at 5,800, looks pretty good. He's averaged 0.92 DraftKings points per minute without Zion or Ingram this year. He has been playing more minutes than the other wings as well, as a result of playing better. I think expecting around 34 minutes from him makes sense. And then Jovel is interesting. He scares me a bit. Last game, we didn't see any minutes where Jovel played alongside Larry Nance, and that was a game that Herb Jones missed as well. Jones questionable today. But again, it just goes back to New Orleans typically doesn't like running those two alongside each other if they don't have to. At 6,500, if you get 28 to 30 minutes from Jovel, especially in a favorable matchup, he's going to look really good. The scary part, though, is just that he is pulling 15% ownership and very live to play like 24 minutes. So that's the concerning part. If the slate started right now, I'd have about half the field.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Joval. Obviously, I see the appeal. I don't love the ownership. Like he's one of the easier pieces of ownership to just get away from. There's no lack of centers. Hard to want to project. Like, do you project them alongside each other at all? I tend to just give them 2 minutes.
I did last game. Gave them, I think, 4 minutes. I think I went 26 on Joval and I went 28 Joval, 24 Nance.
Yeah.
Today I probably wouldn't, just because they didn't do it last game. Neither of them were even in the closing lineup last game. And I'm not talking about the garbage time lineup. The pre-garbage time lineup had Jackson Hayes at the 5 and neither of those guys on the floor. So, I mean, that not that I'm expecting them to play 48 minutes, barring blowout. But the fact that they did that just made me even more concerned about giving additional minutes to Larry Nance alongside him.
Anything else you want to touch on from the Pelicans? I just know we have better spots.
Yeah, I think there's better spots. The one thing I would, I guess, say, like, if the slate started right now, I would have a lot of Jose Alvarado. But again, it's not me saying I think Alvarado is some great play. It's just that at 2% ownership, he showed up quite a bit. If that ownership number were to become like 6%, I'm sure I would very quickly lose what I have.
Fair enough.
A good amount of it.
Then we have the Detroit Pistons on the opposite side. I'm very tired of this team at this point, but at least it's not as ridiculous as it was, although it's a lot to talk about. No Jalen Duren, no Marvin Bagley, no Corey Joseph for those big Corey Joseph fans out there. Q-tag on Isaiah Stewart, which is actually important. But what we would assume to be the starting 5 is all basically owned the same. They're all essentially 10% owned on DraftKings. Boyan, Hayes, Stewart, Ivy, Sadiq Bey. They're owned a little bit less so on FanDuel. I like the Pistons here. I think that ownership is warranted. I wouldn't mind being over on any individual one of these guys. And I actually do think they look kind of good. It's not fun to say, though.
Yeah, I think they look pretty good as well. One thing that stood out about last game was that you just got a lot of playing time as well. Jaden Ivey played 40 minutes, which you're certainly not expecting again, but it was good to see because he's just been sort of limited to 28 in so many games this year. He played a ton. You got your normal 34 from Hayes. Bey played 38. Bogdanovich played 32. Obviously, Isaiah Stewart was out for that game. You got about 21 from Noel. Stewart questionable right now. Assuming he's in, though, I'm still getting to this team a pretty good amount. Stewart showing up around 16% for me. We haven't projected for 13% ownership. I'd be getting like 2x the field again on an 8% owned Jaden Ivey. That's a spot that I am just pretty frequently getting to at this point. Bogdanovich and Bey both look fine. There's just Killian Hayes, looks good. I'd be getting about 16% of him as well. It's just a pretty appealing team. I think it's just a pretty appealing team to get to, especially the starters.
Yeah, it doesn't ever make me feel good. Like, I think they're all like not great players in general. It's at best, they're like a fantasy point per minute. It's gross to want to end up getting to them, but I think they're just kind of underrepresented for the playing time that's out there.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think Ivy, at least on DraftKings, I think Ivy's probably the best combination of like lack of ownership and just projection in general. 8% seems a little low, especially after seeing him play 40 minutes. Again,
yeah,
not that you're like projecting that.
Like, you just keep seeing like 1.5 to 2x the ownership coming into Killian Hayes, despite being more expensive and having less positional flexibility. And I understand it because Hayes is more frequently giving you those 34-minute games, but Ivy's about a fantasy point per minute guy as well and can play more minutes. There's no real reason he can't, other than I think they just get tired of watching him miss shots.
Anything else for the Pistons?
Nope.
To the Atlanta Hawks we go. Pretty easy to talk about the Hawks here. We have Trae Young back. We have no Clint Capella. This is sort of what's been happening for the Hawks for the past, 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks. I don't know how long Capella's been out at this point, but makes it pretty easy to talk about. Onyeka Okongwu at 5,600 is in double digits in ownership. That is the only guy on DraftKings pulling anything significant. On the FanDuel side, you do get John Collins around 10%. Same situation on FanDuel for Onyeka Okongwu. I don't really find anything from Atlanta as ultra appealing. I'd be happy to get to Murray in a GPP if he's 1% owned, but we're talking about like low end GPP pivots. To me, no priorities here. Yeah,
no priorities for me either. I do think Okongwu was going a bit over-owned. Like, I think he's a good play. He's averaging about 33 minutes per game as a starter this year. His production does take a little bit of a hit when Trae Young is in the lineup, but he's still averaged just shy of 0.9 fantasy points per minute in those starts. So he does project well, but we have him with a 7% chance of being optimal at 14% owned. I have him in that same ballpark as well. So it is a spot where there are plenty of, good center plays today. There's plenty of good plays in this price range or cheaper. Yeah. If the slate started right now, I would kind of just be getting away from him and going to some other pieces. But, again, that's kind of like the Alvarado thing where I didn't think Alvarado was a great play. He just happens to be a contrarian piece showing up for me a lot right now. I don't think Okongwu was a bad play. He just happens to be one of the overowned pieces that right now, at least, I'm finding it pretty easy to get away from.
Do you see the murmurings about John Collins to Indiana?
No.
I would like that. That would be a fun fit alongside Miles Turner.
I just wanted to go somewhere he plays center.
I mean, that's a team where he could very easily be the backup center as well if you needed it to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think other teams want him to play center. That's sort of the problem.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't care about basketball. I just want John Collins center minutes for DFS.
Absolutely. Well, I think if he didn't have, if you had a stretch five like Turner, I think that he could still look a little bit better on the offensive end in comparison. And then, pick and roll.
Yeah.
Pick and rolls with Tyrese Haliburton would probably be a pretty good time too.
Yeah. Yeah, Haliburton not quite as intent on shooting off of that as Trae Young is.
Yeah. Haliburton's going to have a 23% usage rate coming out of those pick and rolls, and Trae Young's going to have a 38% usage rate coming out of those pick and rolls. Probably feels a little bit better for John Collins. I'd be interested to see if that shook out. That'd be fun. Anything else for Atlanta?
Not really. I mean, Trae Young and John Collins, I think both reasonable tournament plays, neither one getting much ownership. Collins is priced up to where you're not really comfortable getting there since he isn't getting those center minutes. You've had Kaminsky back in the rotation as the backup center. They do have Derek Favors with the team who may or may not take over that role. So you're not comfortable getting there, but he is pretty low owned. Same goes for Trae Young, who the type of upside that he gives you. He's only pulling about 6% ownership. I have him in about 6% of my lineups right now. So nothing that really stands out here.
Well, I think we're probably going to have some things that stand out here. It's the Indiana Pacers. They are in an interesting spot because the guy that we were just talking about isn't playing and isn't going to play for a while, which really sucks. It's just better when he's out there. Like he's an awesome part of the NBA. No Tyrese Haliburton for a couple weeks. And then Q tag on Aaron Nesmith, Q tag on Miles Turner, Q tag on O'Shea Brissett. It is mildly difficult to talk about this game, but there are pieces that aren't affected by these Q tags that already look good. Nembhard. I'm just going to read off everybody. Nembhard, Hield, Turner, Mathurin, and TJ McConnell are all basically 25 to 35% owned. It's mostly the same situation on FanDuel as well. So we'll start here. What is your expectation of the starting lineup for the Indiana Pacers? Let's assume everybody's in.
McConnell,
okay,
Nembhard, Hield, Nesmith, and Turner.
Interesting. Okay. So you do think that McConnell is the guy that moves into the starting lineup?
Yeah.
Okay. At which point, obviously, he looks exceptional. Like, there's no way around it. I don't know. I don't have a great feel if he's moving into the starting lineup or not. And I also have not cared all day because we're going to get that lineup early enough anyway. I like him. The good thing about TJ McConnell is he's going to see some sort of increased minutes, and he looks good at his price tag in those increased minutes no matter what. If they're starter minutes, fantastic. If they're just extended bench run minutes, also still fantastic at 4,100.
Yeah, agreed. He's without Haliburton on the floor this year, which is most of his minutes. 1 fantasy point per minute for McConnell. He hasn't started a game yet this year, but since the start of last season, he's played big minutes when he starts as well. 33, 35, 26, 33, 33, 34, 25, 31 minutes in the games that he started last year. So it's not like you're talking about like a spot starter here either. This is somebody that is likely to play big minutes, be a big part of their offense in terms of playmaking. Very, very good facilitator. 17.5% usage rate without Haliburton, but a 43.3% assist percentage. He's going to look great at that price tag.
The other guys that I think look great, Andrew Nembhard, who it's kind of fun. We got to talk about this relatively recently, and now it's being brought back into the forefront. He is not the same guy with Tyrese Haliburton not on the floor. He
is the same guy if TJ McConnell is on the floor, though.
Interesting. Okay, so talk to me about Andrew then, because I have a feeling that you're going to tell me that you're not as interested as the field.
I am not. So like I almost wish Nembhard were a little bit more expensive because he's cheap enough now at 4,300 that even given my sort of pessimistic look on him, I still think he's a good play because he's going to play a ton of minutes. And there's a decent chance that they stagger him in McConnell. And so he's out there without McConnell. That doesn't have to be the case. Like you could just have Duarte be the backup, I guess. But I think they'll probably stagger them. But this year, overall, without Tyrese Halliburton on the floor, 0.91 DraftKings points per minute for Andrew Nembhard. But if you break that down further, with TJ McConnell on the floor and Halliburton off, Nembhard has played 161 minutes, 353 possessions, 0.67 DraftKings points per minute. He has an 11.8% usage rate. He has a 16.8% assist percentage. Really, really underwhelming numbers. Granted, not the biggest sample size, but it's not like you're just talking about poor shooting or anything. The usage hasn't been there. The assists haven't been there. If you take TJ McConnell off the floor in addition to Halliburton, it didn't run correctly the first time, but the production for Nembhard skyrockets. He's played 127 minutes without either of them on the floor, 271 possessions, 22.5% usage rate, 41.7% assist percentage, 1.2 DraftKings points per minute. He did shoot really well over that sample as well, so don't read too much into the point per minute production. The big thing, though, is that he basically replaces that assist percentage that TJ McConnell has. If McConnell's out there, I still think McConnell's the one with the ball in his hands a lot, and you're seeing Nembhard play a very similar role to the one he plays with Halliburton. So I do think that some places at least are over projecting him. I actually don't think we are. We have him at 25.7 DraftKings points. I think that is very reasonable because I do think he's going to play a lot of minutes. I expect him to, settle into around like 0.8 fantasy points per minute. So that's sort of what I was getting at with the price. Like if the slate started right now, I'd still have him in like 22% of my lineups because he's still a good value piece. I just don't think he's as good a value piece as some other places I've seen appear to think that he is.
I understand where you're going. I don't really have a great feel for him either, but 4,300, like on FanDuel at 5,300, that's what you're looking for. 4,300 on DraftKings, like no matter how pessimistic you want to be about his rates and whether you think those rates are going to be real when he's playing alongside TJ McConnell, it doesn't matter because he's going to play a shit ton of minutes at 4,300 right. And Tyrese Halliburton isn't out there. He's just incrementally better and unquestionably a good point per minute guy.
Right. 4,300 for Nembhard today is sort of like the 4,600 on Washington the other day when I spent, 2 minutes saying why I was really scared to play Dwayne Washington. But then you still have to follow it up with he can just back into a good game at 4,600. And it's the same thing with Nembhard. Like I can be right that he's not as good as everyone else thinks, and he can still very easily end up being one of the best value plays on the slate.
Buddy Hield, I think it's pretty easy to just talk about him in general, regardless of who's in or who's out. He just looks like a perfectly reasonable play who should get a little bit more shine with no Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, agreed. I hate when I pull up YouTube and the sound is on. For Hield, 94 minutes without Halliburton or McConnell on the floor. Don't really need those. But 222 minutes without Halliburton, 21.5% usage rate, 1.13 DraftKings points per minute. I think the playing time is likely to increase a bit for him just because, you do have a lot of minutes available. And we'd seen Hield sort of, at times this year play 36, 37 minutes, then get down to playing 30, 31. I think it is likely that you get him back into that like mid 30s range, which is going to make him look pretty good. And then he also has shooting guard, small forward eligibility, which is nice.
What do you want to do with the rest of the Pacers?
So Mathurin and Turner are the other two getting ownership. If Turner is in, I expect to be getting to a lot of him. We have him projected for 27% ownership, but we also have him with a 28% chance of being optimal. If the slate started right now, I would have like 40% on DraftKings. He's really good anyway, but without Halliburton on the floor this year, 143 minutes, 24.2% usage rate, 1.23 DraftKings points per minute. It's just going to make him look good. And then similarly with Benedict Mathurin, I don't think he starts, but he could. But either way, he's shooting guard small forward eligible at 4,800. He's likely to step into more minutes. He's averaged 1.02 DraftKings points per minute in 535 minutes without Halliburton, has a 30.7% usage rate. He's just going to end up looking like a good value piece. So all five of those guys look good to me, at least to some extent. With the rest of the team, I think it really starts to depend on who is in, who is out. Aaron Nesmith, 0.78 DraftKings points per minute without Halliburton this year. He's 4,600. He'd be a kind of interesting pivot away from Nembhard if he's in, just because you're getting like a 32-1 ownership discount. And, I think Nembhard is certainly the better play. I just think, it's not by that big of a gap, especially if you buy into the numbers with McConnell. If you just say like, if you're just like, oh, well, that's, fluky. And the main reason I don't think it is fluky is the assist percentage. That's what TJ McConnell does. And the fact that Nembhard's just disappears is crazy. It makes sense. It would be different if it was just like, oh, when he's out there with McConnell, he has a 12% usage rate, but without McConnell, it's 24%. It would be like, all right, I don't really think McConnell is doing that, but the assist is what really scares me off. But anyway, it makes it, I just think they're a little bit closer, and that's reflected in our projections as well. We have Nembhard basically 3 points higher than Aaron Nesmith, who also is a little bit more expensive. So clearly Nembhard's the better play, but Nesmith's going to beat him a decent percentage of the time, much more than ownership reflects right now. The other sort of interesting spot is there's a non-zero chance that 3K Chris Duarte steps into more minutes than people are projecting. I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything with that thought. Like, it's just, there's enough value plays on this slate. I doubt that I end up getting to Chris Duarte, but it shouldn't surprise anybody if it's just like, oh, Chris Duarte took on a much bigger role today than we were expecting him to.
I also think, it's not out of the realm of possibility to me that O'Shea Brissett starts if he's in, that Jalen Smith starts if he's in. Like, they have so many different dudes. Obviously, Mathurin, you mentioned, like, there's so many different dudes that can start here. All these guys are going to have to play like a decent chunk of time. I don't know what kind of shape they're going to try to make this team take today.
Yeah, agreed. And to the Duarte point also, so last game he played about 6 minutes in the first half. 7.5 minutes. He had closed the half over Buddy Hield, who had gotten in foul trouble, but he intended to play about 6 minutes in the first half. He was actually the one who subbed in for Halliburton because McConnell had already subbed in for Nembhard, and Duarte then played about 8.5 minutes in the second half. So it really shouldn't be too surprising, especially if like Brissett is out and you're just short a body. But either way, it shouldn't be too surprising if maybe Duarte does get 20, 22 minutes here.
Anything else you want to touch on for the Pacers?
No.
All right, folks, schedule for the rest of the day is pretty easy. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. That is what you guys are going to be waiting for. You're going to get EMac. You're going to get T McB. That's Terry McBride for everybody that doesn't know. And they'll be taking you all the way up until lock and then an extra half hour. Plus, for the people that are here and listening, 1,800 people here, 200 likes. Hit that like button. If you're interested in checking out what we have behind the paywall, you can get 5 days free of our Stokastic NBA package. That would cover our projections, ownership, boom bust, our player compare tool. So you could check out any 1v1 or 2v2 that you want to check, along with our brand new lineup generator. Tons of features there for you. If you're not a big time 150 max player, if you're more looking for that one lineup, 2, 3, 5, up to 20, this is going to be the spot that you want to check out. So go ahead and do that right now. Link is in the description. New York Knicks, 4-point favorites in Washington, 224 total for the Knicks. This one's pretty easy. They've got everybody that's normally in. No real ownership coming into anybody except for RJ Barrett, who quickly came right back into 41 minutes in regulation off of that finger injury. Looks like the starters are just back to playing. It looks like Tibbs is Nick Nurse for now, and the starters are just going to play a shit ton. Minimal minutes to Quentin Grimes was kind of interesting to me, but I guess I understand it. Do you want anything here from the Knicks?
I think it's just if the starters land in your lineups as relatively low-owned plays, that's fine. You're still getting a lot of minutes from them. Like you said, 41 minutes from Barrett last game. Brunson played 42. Randall played 38.5. You got 9.5 from Toppin. So again, that's something to sort of keep an eye on. How do they handle that going forward? For now, I'm not overly concerned about it. I think you still project about 38 minutes for Julius Randle, but so far, at least, they are playing Toppin as his backup. That was a problem earlier in the year because it was limiting how many minutes Randle would play. He's also playing extremely well right now. So I kind of assume that they're not in any real hurry to start giving those minutes to Obi Toppin, but certainly something just to keep an eye on. But I expect 38, 39 minutes still from Randle. Robinson is really interesting to me. He's 5,600, pulling 5% ownership. He's just playing huge minutes now. And it's Mitchell Robinson, so you kind of keep waiting for that game where he just gets in foul trouble and doesn't play huge minutes. But he's just consistently been playing well over 30 minutes. He's not getting ownership. I'm still kind of having trouble getting to him right now, only have like 3%. But just looking at that ownership, it seems pretty appealing to me. I think he's a very, very good pivot away from Onyeka Okongwu, for example. Okongwu getting 15% ownership to Robinson's 5%, and they should project about the same. They're priced about the same. That's a very, very easy pivot if you just wanted to stay in that price range. But Robinson, Brunson, Randall, Barrett all look fine, and I have no interest in anything else.
In the last 10 games, Mitchell Robinson has played less than 28 minutes once. And like 28 minutes still works for Mitchell Robinson if he's getting like a Mitchell Robinson day. So not much to say there. We do got to go to your Wizards now. News is in. Porzingis in. Gafford in. Monty Morris out. Fire up your $3,400 DeLon Wrights.
And your 3K Jordan Goodwin.
There you, at least one of the two.
Yeah. Yeah. Or your 3K Jordan Goodwin.
Yeah. But yeah, who do you think starts, right?
I was about to say that. I'm actually not sure. I think probably right. But I wouldn't be shocked if they just went Goodwin and kept Wright in his normal role. I think they'll go Wright, though. He did play a bunch of minutes last game, too, which kind of just makes me think there's a better chance he ends up starting here. They had closed him alongside Monte Morris last game, so he ended up playing 25 minutes. So we've actually seen a game recently where Wright played like real minutes as opposed to maybe he's still on what?
DeLon Wright will have a minutes limit on Friday, as will Taj Gibson, apparently, which is what the fuck does that mean?
Miles Turner and Aaron Nesmith are both out. O'Shea Brissett is in.
Woo!
So I don't know what to do with that. DeLon Wright played 26 minutes last game. So what is his minutes limit?
I mean, at 26 minutes, he looks really good at 3,400.
Right. I wouldn't be like, do you just project it 24-24 with him and Goodwin?
Probably, yeah. At which point you're happy to play either one of them.
Right.
Goodwin more than Wright.
Yeah, I mean, Goodwin 0.97 DraftKings points per minute this year. Wright 0.93. They're just kind of the same thing. Goodwin's a little bit cheaper.
And this could also just be a coach saying
could be absolute
something.
Bullshit.
Yep. I mean, I don't get the sense that they're just going to run DeLon Wright out there for 32 minutes to begin with anyway.
Right, right. That's kind of the thing. Taj Gibson played 25 minutes, and Porzingis and Gafford are in. So, yes, his minutes are limited because he's Taj fucking Gibson.
Yeah, he's going to get one rotation at most, no matter how this game plays.
Right, yeah. Taj, your minutes are limited today because you're not good enough to be on the floor. For DeLon Wright, though, I mean, I always get I never know what to do with these sorts of minutes limits because, like, yeah, I didn't. If you're telling me he's going to play less than 48 minutes, like, yeah, I kind of had that idea anyway. But I don't expect it to be like, oh, Monte Morris is out, and by the way, we're gonna like if DeLon Wright starts, I think you go 26 on DeLon Wright, 22 to Jordan Goodwin. If Jordan Goodwin starts, you probably go the opposite. I think.
I don't think anything else really matters then for Washington, right? Like nothing looks good.
No, I mean Monte Morris doesn't change enough other stuff. Like you're replacing him with a point guard in DeLon Wright. 23% assist percentage for Wright, 24 for Morris. Nothing's really changing there. Like maybe Kuzma takes on a little bit more of a playmaking role, but probably not enough to really change anything fantasy wise. I think you're just playing one of the point guards and moving on.
Do you want to sum up what your thoughts are? And we can't even, we'll sum up Indiana if we get a starting lineup in the next half hour, because obviously whoever's starting for Miles Turner is a very interesting piece that we do not know the answer to right now. We do not know who's starting for Aaron Nesmith at this point right now. Most of the Pacers are just going to look pretty good today.
Yeah, there's a million different ways that starting lineup can look now. Like Brissett's in, so you could get him starting. You could get Jalen Smith starting at the 5. You could get Jalen Smith starting at the 4. You could get Isaiah Jackson starting. You could get Mathurin starting. You could get Duarte
James
starting.
Johnson.
Yeah, there's a million different ways this can go.
It's just not worth us digging into it right now.
Blitz said, is Goga in play now? Probably not. He'd
have to be starting.
Right. Yeah. If he's not starting, I wouldn't touch it. He played 3 minutes in the first half last game. He played the entire fourth quarter, which probably means nothing. If Goga starts, yes, he's in play. If Goga comes off the bench, I don't need to go there.
Beef stew out.
So Nerlens Noel is probably playing 22 to 24 minutes.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
You would, yeah, look, that's the expectation, I guess. I don't know. And then Kevin Knox is your backup center.
I mean, he barely played last game. They went to like livers.
Whatever. That's a question for the Live Before Lock crew.
I think it was Sadiq Bey is what they did.
Obviously. Golden State Warriors are 8-point favorites in San Antonio, 240 total. This one is very easy for us to get through. Golden State, full strength for like the guys that have been in. Still no Kuminga or JaMychal Green or Wiseman. This team does not look very good today. If you would like to play a bit of $9,300 Steph Curry on FanDuel, that is really the only piece that I can advocate for here from the Warriors.
I'll advocate for 10-4 Steph on DraftKings too.
Go for it.
He's just there's not competition at the top for You don't have Luka, you don't have Embiid, you don't have Jokic, you don't have these other guys that just look better than Steph in terms of raw points. Right now, he's the second highest projected guy on the slate behind Sabonis. So him pulling 8% ownership on a slate with a ton of value is just really interesting here. They had said he was going to be limited last game. He played 31 minutes. I had expected around 32. I was pretty sure that's what a Steve Kerr minutes limit on Steph Curry meant. And then now I just expect him to play 35 or 36. I think he's just going to play real minutes. This game is a very, very appealing matchup. The only sort of big variable here is that they're playing in the Alamo Dome or whatever. So, he's playing on a football field. He said that it's easy to adjust to and that he's not worried about it. Who knows? But yeah, I'm expecting full run from Steph Curry, or at least close to it. It's a very, very good matchup. And the big thing is just that he's getting 8% ownership. I really like the idea on a slate without pay-up options of getting to Stephen Curry at 8% ownership in a game with like a 280 point total.
Yeah, I don't mind the shot on him. He doesn't look all that different than Trae Young, Shea, all the other guys that are his position at basically the same salary.
Yeah, it's just less ownership. Like right sure. Now, I'd be getting like 16% Steph. Right now is in before the show started. So obviously it's changed with Washington news and everything. But before the show started, I'd been getting to 16% Steph, only like 8% Shea, kind of just flipping those guys.
Yeah, I don't hate that. For San Antonio, not really too much that we need to worry about here, at least from like a news perspective. No Devin Vassell. Everybody else is available. We got 35 minutes out of Keldon Johnson on Wednesday. He is the guy pulling 20% ownership on both sites for today. I think that is mostly warranted. I don't mind going to Trey Jones either. He's just been really solid as a starting point guard for the Spurs. And I don't know why Jakob Poeltl's only getting 3% ownership, but there's another, to me, really interesting center pivot that you can get to in GPPs.
Yeah, I'm with you. In the crunch I did before the show, I only got to like 3% Poeltl, and that was something that I was hopefully going to get more of anyway. But now with Miles Turner not taking half of my center exposures, it's going to be easier to get the Poeltl. He's averaged 1.3 DraftKings points per minute without Devin Vassell on the floor this year. He's likely to give you around 26 minutes in a game with a massive total. He just looks like another, he's a little bit more expensive than Okongwu, but another guy where with the amount of value on this slate, it shouldn't be that difficult to move around $800 or whatever it is and just get to some Jakob Poeltl there. Keldon Johnson pulling ownership. Makes sense. He's about a 1.1 DraftKings point per minute guy without Vassell, has a 30% usage rate, played about 35 minutes last game. You're likely to get 33, 34 on average. And then Trey Jones, I came in right around the field on him at 6,200. He's a bit over a fantasy point per minute without Vassell. He should play around 30 minutes. Outside of those three guys, I see basically nothing.
All righty. No House Advantage, presenting sponsor of this show. Pretty good deal for you. If you click the link in the description, you can get a 100% deposit bonus. So you can get up to $100 from No House Advantage. So that's a pretty good deal as far as I can tell. Maybe you guys think differently, but I don't know how much more money people can give you for just putting your money in their account. Go for it. Get in to No House Advantage right now. 15K slam dunk, 5K to first, 21% filled at this moment. You can get $200 in there if you sign up right now. That's going to be 13 entries into their best contest. That's a really good shot at 5K. And if you don't want to do any work, we have No House Advantage projections on Stokastic.com. They cost you nothing. We take every single prop that they have. We assign a percentage for how likely it is to go over under. You can choose through that information, or you can take the No House Advantage optimal lineups that we have already created from our projections and just upload them yourselves. You don't have to do any additional work. So if you want to take a run at 5K up top on No House Advantage tonight and most nights in the NBA, plus some NFL games, why wouldn't you want to do that? 13 entries right away, $100, doubled up to 200 with a shot at 5K for tonight. Take advantage of the offer, guys. All of the free tools at Stokastic.com are there for your disposal.
Herb Jones out for the Pelicans.
Okay. Does that matter to you at all?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of seen how that goes. Dyson Daniels should start. There's plenty of value elsewhere.
All righty. Oklahoma City Thunder, 4.5-point dogs in Chicago, 228 total. Josh Giddey, 15% owned on DraftKings. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, about 15% owned on FanDuel. Lou Dort played 38 minutes on Thursday. That's something you don't see every day. But this is the same situation we always see. SGA, primary. Giddey and Dort, secondary. Jalen Williams, Sure, but I won't be excited about it.
Yeah, and the other Jalen Williams, if he starts at 3K flat, you can roll the dice on him if you want to. But yeah, it's pretty much Giddey and SGA. Like Dort, from a positional standpoint, looks good, and if he happened to play 38 minutes again, would look fine. But typically, he's playing around 30, 31 minutes. Giddey should give you 31, 32 minutes on average. He played 36 last game, but at 7K, he's going to look pretty good. Shea looks good at 10-2. Again, just sort of looks better than normal because you don't have that next tier of pay up options above him. So, right now he projects as like a top 5 scorer on the slate. Where in that top 5 you could certainly debate, but one of the best raw point options on the slate. Certainly going to be happy to get to him. Good matchup, 235 total, 5-point dogs at Chicago. Just looks good for Giddey and SGA mostly.
On the opposite side, we definitely have something to talk about for the Chicago Bulls. Probable tag on Zach LaVine, doubtful tag on DeMar DeRozan. That is the one that matters most. 25% ownership going to LaVine and Vooch, 10-15 on Patrick Williams, Kobe White, and Caruso. Pretty much the same story on FanDuel, but increased ownership to LaVine, increased ownership to Caruso. When you look at Chicago, how do you feel about Zach LaVine, 9,200 shooting guard, small forward?
I think he's just a really good play. For one, he's one of the highest raw point guys on this slate because of just the way the slate is. And then he has shooting guard small forward eligibility, which is nice. You get a bump in production without DeRozan, as you would expect. 32% usage rate, 24.5% assist percentage, 1.2 DraftKings points per minute. But you're also likely to see more playing time. Instead of 35 or 36 minutes, you're likely to be getting 37, 38, if not more from LaVine. So he benefits in that way as well. And then with Vooch, he's also going to get a benefit because he has averaged in 207 minutes, 1.33 DraftKings points per minute without DeRozan. We also saw him play a lot of minutes last game. That may or may not be something that we see continue. Clearly, they play different positions, and it's not like DeRozan being out forces you to play Vooch more minutes, but it is taking one of your primary scorers off the floor. So it would be completely reasonable for the Bulls to say, like, look, we don't want Vooch on the bench for 14 minutes. We want him on the bench for like 10. So if that happens again, then, clearly he's going to look better as well. So both of those guys look really good. I think that is very obvious. Alex Caruso and Kobe White, both likely to play around 28 minutes. I think the ownership, in my mind at least, is sort of flipped. Kobe White pulling 16% right now. Alex Caruso pulling about 12. I expect Caruso to start again. So those minutes are, in theory, a little bit more secure. But also, even without DeRozan on the floor this year, 0.69 DraftKings points per minute for Kobe White with a 16.5% usage rate, 0.8 for Alex Caruso, 12.9% usage rate. And it just goes back to what we've talked about with Kobe White. You can take DeRozan off, but if LaVine's going to play almost every minute, Kobe White still doesn't get to play Kobe White's game. And Alex Caruso is, the better rebounder, facilitator, playmaker with this, out of the two. So he's the one that isn't going to be hurt as much on a point per minute standpoint playing alongside LaVine. White's going to have opportunities. I'm not saying he's a bad value, but if Caruso is going to be lower owned than White, I'm more interested in getting to Caruso.
Is Dosunmu more interesting than Kobe White too?
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, he's really not getting owned.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, right now, again, like this all is going to change because of Washington. But
yeah,
with the ownership and Indiana, with the ownership we had before the slate, I would have been getting to 15% Caruso, 7% Dosunmu, and like 3% White. So I basically would have just been taking the Kobe White ownership and giving it to Ayo Dosunmu and Alex Caruso.
Is there anything else we should do here with Chicago?
I don't really think so. Like Patrick Williams is pulling 10%. That probably comes down now that we're getting more value. He just sort of seemed like one of those, like, oh, he falls into your lineup and you just, hold your nose and hope for the best kind of things. Probably not going to be as necessary now.
The Phoenix Suns are a tire fire once again, but somehow still not even big underdogs to Minnesota. I don't know how that's possible. No Chris Paul, no Devin Booker, no Cam Johnson, no Landry Shamet, no Cam Payne, obviously no Jay Crowder. DeAndre Ayton is in. He gets to play with this goon squad that's also out there with him. No real ownership coming into Phoenix. 11% to your boy Dwayne Washington is the high mark for right now. Still think he looks pretty good at 30-something% usage in 26 minutes that he cannot get more than. But how do you want to, what do you want to do here with Phoenix? I thought there'd be more value here.
Yeah, I'm not too interested there. I mean, you have DeAndre Ayton coming back, so that's another high usage guy. Ayton at 8K is, I guess, kind of interesting in tournaments playing without Booker and Paul, but you also don't really have anybody that can get him the ball. So that could be problematic. But the usage should be there if, they do manage to pass it to him. But really, there's just not too much that I'm interested in. Dwayne Washington certainly has a ceiling at that 5K price tag because he's going to go out there and chuck. The problem is just that Monty Williams has made it pretty clear he does not trust him with the basketball. You had Saban Lee play about 2 minutes in the first half last game, then play the final 13. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's just fully in the rotation today as another guy that can take minutes away from Washington potentially. But the ceiling's certainly there. And the fact that he's getting 11% ownership makes him much, 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 much more appealing than when he was getting 60% the other day. I think he's basically the same play today as he was the other day. Slightly worse because his salary's gone up a little bit and because Ayton's back and also because you just have all this other value. But in terms of the ceiling, I don't think anything's changed. And mostly that's assuming he's still in the starting lineup. If that were to change, then the minute projection probably comes down. But either way, I think he's the same guy that is likely to play, if he's playing well, could play 26, 27 minutes. If he's not playing well, he could certainly play less. He got 24 last game and 7 of that was garbage time. But I think the ceiling is still there and you're just getting a lot less ownership.
Quick super chat here from the Claw. Torrey Craig or Marcus Morris? Neither should be the answer.
Yeah.
I have Marcus Morris, but I would be trying to find something better. I'd rather go to Patrick Williams if I could.
Yeah, I mean, I have Marcus Morris by 0.2 of a point. They're basically the same projection, the same play in terms of just a last piece in that you're just kind of hoping to run good on.
Yeah. And then Fox or Levine, I think that one's pretty easy.
Levine.
Yeah. My filler arc, pick a center out of these 4: Noel, Zach Collins, Rocco, or Larry Nance. I mean, it's got to be Noel, right?
I hate these questions. Noel, I guess.
Yeah.
I think Zach Collins will be my second one.
Covington, I think, has the highest ceiling of any of these guys because you never know what's
at all.
I mean, my judgment here is that I don't know what the hell they're doing, and he might play 30 minutes today. I also think that he might play 0. I agree with where you're going to go with this. But
but what I was going to say, too, is if Jakob Poeltl gets in foul trouble, Zach Collins' ceiling destroys Rocco.
Probably, yeah.
I think they're both.
Although if Ivica Zubac gets into foul trouble, is Robert Covington playing 36 minutes today?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think that they're the same kind of thing where I don't think Covington's a good play unless Zubac gets in foul trouble. I don't think Collins is a good play unless Poeltl gets in foul trouble. Collins is the better point per minute guy. And I mean, you can throw Nance in there too, in the same boat. Yeah. If Valanciunas gets in foul trouble, Nance looks great. Noel's the only one starting that I feel, but even that, Noel's probably playing 22 minutes. Collins is probably playing 22 minutes.
I hate it.
Noel's the cheapest one.
Jeremy Savage says Covington definitely playing. We'll get to that in a bit.
Oh.
Julio G. Adam said earlier he put a floor on his salary. Do you guys normally do that? I don't, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I do, and it never matters. It's more just to make sure I don't get lineups that I don't want, but I'm not going to get them anyway.
They get sifted out for me on the back end in Excel, so I don't. It's just it's one less thing that I don't have to put in Fantasy Cruncher to slightly slow it down. If I were doing something different, I would put a mechanism in to stop it. Run the crunch. See how many times you're giving up $1,500 in salary. If it's not a lot, then you don't really have to set it. On the Minnesota end of this one, not a lot to talk about. We've got the Q tag on Anthony Edwards, Q tag on Kyle Anderson, Q tag on Taurean Prince. Nobody's pulling any ownership. I still don't think that we could really talk about Minnesota because there's just too much in flux. But assuming everybody plays, I don't think they're all that interesting.
Yeah, assuming everybody's in, I don't like too much of it. It's just, mixing in a little bit of Gobert, Edwards, and Russell. They all, give you very appealing ceilings. But there's just so many other spots to go to on the slate that look really good. If Edwards is out, then you get more usage for Russell, and he's going to look better. But assuming for now that Edwards is in, I think it's kind of just mixing in those three and not really prioritizing anything.
And we keep it moving to the Orlando Magic, 6-point dogs in Utah, 233 total. Q tag on Jalen Suggs, which probably makes the Magic better. No John Isaac, no Chuma Okeke, no ownership coming in anywhere for this team. Can we talk quickly? I got into this on the process, and I didn't get to talk to you on the strategy show today. How is Bol just not in the rotation, or is this a COVID thing?
I just kind of take it as them being healthy.
Yeah, but like he's been good.
Yeah.
They have no reason there's no reason that Terrence Ross should be on the floor if Bol can play. Do you know his stats this season?
No, I know he's been good though.
66% true shooting, 39% from three, and a 6% block rate, and a 24% defensive rebounding rate, which is 91st percentile. Like, do I think that Bol is spectacular? No. Should he be in the rotation for the Orlando Magic? Yes.
Yeah, it was surprising. And I thought that maybe it was just like a conditioning thing. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he plays tonight.
I gave him some minutes. I think that in time he's back in it because it just doesn't make sense to me for him to not be in it. Like there's no need to play Terrence Ross 15 minutes any longer. He's legitimately bad.
And even if he wasn't, he's legitimately not a part of anything this team is doing going forward.
You certainly don't need to play Mo Wagner if you don't want to.
Right.
So it's crazy. Do you want anything from Orlando? Because they don't look good anywhere other than like pivots.
Yeah, I think it's just another tournament pivot team. The positive that I would mention is that they ran a very condensed rotation, at least in terms of giving their starters real minutes last game. 38 minutes for Banchero, 37 for Wagner, 31 for Carter, 35 for Franz, 30 for Gary Harris. They certainly don't have to do all that again. Like you had Jalen Suggs only play 11 minutes off the bench. But it was basically the five starters plus Cole Anthony all played at least 24 minutes. And that was Anthony. The starters all played at least 30. And then the bench barely played. So if they were to run that rotation again, then you basically just have an under-owned starting lineup because rightfully so, everybody's being projected for what they've done most of the year, not what they did last game. And that's how you have to approach it. But it does just sort of give you another path to upside where, Markelle Fultz at 6,100, if he plays 30 minutes, then it's just like, oh, well, maybe Markelle Fultz will play really well. He's 4% owned. You can take a shot. If you knew Markelle Fultz was playing 36 minutes and he was 4% owned, he'd be one of the best guard plays on the slate. So it's just kind of more volatility introduced here where maybe these guys actually have a little bit more upside than they normally would. But that being said, still just so many good plays on the slate. And I don't think you're going in here expecting that many minutes again.
The Claw hit us with the super chat. I think that you and I will have the same answer here. Best utility on DraftKings, 6,900 and under. To me, that's Jamal Murray.
That is probably my answer as well. Let me double check.
If you want to tell me that it's DeAndre Ayton or Keldon Johnson,
DeAndre Ayton's 8K, so that would not be.
I don't know why I said DeAndre Ayton. Oh, because his name is, when I sorted by my projections, it was the next name there. I meant to just go to Keldon Johnson. Miles Turner was 6,900, but I was trying to skip him in my mind because he's not in. But
yeah, I was gonna say I'm looking now. If it's not Murray, I would assume for me it's Şengün or Johnson. But
I mean, I've got like Kuzma, Banchero.
Kuzma's $8,700.
What am I seeing when I look at this?
Like I have Kuzma too.
Dude, just ignore me, man. It's been a long day. I didn't do a strategy show.
Yeah, it's Jamal Murray for me by a wide margin.
Get me away from this question.
It's Jamal Murray, then a gap. It's Jamal Murray, then a pretty big gap, and then healed Johnson Şengün.
That was a bad look for me.
You know who else I like more than Jamal Murray is Steph Curry.
Yeah. That's probably one of the dumber shits I've done on these shows. Guys, hit the like button for me. 2,400 people in here, 300 likes. The one thing I need to do is see that like number go up. It does say 300, right? I assume I'm reading that shit wrong too.
295.
Okay, well, we're rounding at this point. The Denver Nuggets are underdogs here against the Clippers, 221 total. And the Denver Nuggets are underdogs here because we've got an event that doesn't normally happen. We don't have Nikola Jokic today. Jamal Murray is in. Bruce Brown is in. No Jeff Green, no Peyton Watson or Colin Gillespie. Well, this is a very different team. They don't play a ton of minutes without Nikola Jokic just in general either. So samples are limited no matter how you really want to look at this. But I do know this one. $6,700 Jamal Murray looks pretty good.
Yeah, he does. I'm actually really disappointed that Jokic is sitting out because this morning I thought that What?
I like him without it.
Right. This morning, I thought that $6,700 Jamal Murray and $5,200 Michael Porter were two of the best tournament plays on the slate, Murray in particular. And then you get Jokic ruled out, so everybody's just going to get ownership here, except apparently Michael Porter Jr., who's still only pulling 8%. But Jamal Murray at 34% looks very, very good. Clearly just going to see more production from him. I had talked last game about him being better going forward because Michael Malone had gone back to staggering him and Jokic, and those minutes without Jokic are so important. Now you just get all of them. 1.2 DraftKings points per minute, 31% usage rate, 26% assist percentage in 212 minutes without Jokic on the floor this year for Murray. He just looks fantastic. I want a lot of him. Michael Porter Jr., 0.91 DraftKings points per minute. Aaron Gordon has only played 69 minutes, but he's at 1.14 DraftKings points per minute. He's pulling some ownership at 6,200. I think those are the three guys you look to the most. I don't know who's going to start at center between DeAndre Jordan or Zeke Naji. Whichever one it is, if you want to gamble on them in large field tournaments, fine, but you shouldn't be very confident in it. If it's Jordan, I'd feel better about it, I guess, just because he's the better point per minute guy. 0.96 DraftKings points per minute for Gordon compared to 0.75 for Naji. But I don't really know exactly what they'll do there.
Chat's mad at me because I skipped Utah. I thought I was making an executive decision there because I find them incredibly uninteresting. No Kelly Olynyk, but Colin Sexton is back. The highest projected ownership guy from Utah was 6% to Kessler. Other than Lauri Markkanen being $8,200 on FanDuel in comparison to his $9,800 price tag on DraftKings, I don't think that Utah is all that interesting other than GPP pivots, and we were running short on time.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at as well. It's kind of just the normal, if you get to a little bit of Kessler or Conley or Clarkson, fine. Markkanen's extremely expensive, which I guess on the slate doesn't matter quite as much as it normally would, but he's still extremely expensive. There's nothing that stands out to me from Utah, though.
Yeah, the next, talking about Denver, Houston, and Sacramento was way more important than what I saw for Utah. All right, Koal, best forward 5,700 and under on DraftKings. If you just saved all your money each month for these super chats, you could just look this shit up on your own on our site.
5,700.
Yeah.
Michael. So, I mean, I haven't updated anything for news, but prior to that, coming into the show, I would have said Michael Porter Jr.
Okay. Clippers side. This is where it starts to get tricky.
Oh, no, never mind. Keep going.
You're good?
Yeah, I was going to say Najee Marshall, but he's 5,800.
Okay. Oh, yeah. It's tough, isn't it?
Yes, I just buy $100, not buy $2,000.
Hey, man, a miss is a miss. Paul George out, Luke Kennard out. And this Clippers team is wild. Terrence Mann is just playing all of the minutes. Reggie Jackson kicked out of the lineup at this point in time. The big question for me to you is this. What in the world are they doing with Robert Covington?
So I think he's just the backup, maybe, to Zubats. 2 games ago, he didn't play at all. They went with Moses Brown. Zubats played 38 minutes, and then Moses Brown was just the backup. Last game, Zubats got in massive foul trouble right out of the gate. 3 fouls in the first 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Didn't come back the rest of the first half. So Covington subs in and plays a ton. That's also in a matchup against Dallas, where it's a very pick and roll heavy team with Luka. Typically, they like, at least during the regular season, having Zubats out there. They've talked about it at length before. So it wasn't really surprising that then they go to Covington to, in that matchup when Zubats isn't out there. Then in the third quarter, Zubats picks up his 4th foul 4.5 minutes in. So he goes back to the bench. Covington subs in. They both started the 4th quarter, but you got 31 minutes total from Covington in a game where Zubats played 15.5. If Zubats avoids foul trouble here, he's playing north of 30 minutes. Covington is not just replacing Ivica Zubats. So I don't really get all the love to Robert Covington. He played a total of 4 minutes and 58 seconds alongside Zubats in that game. He played 0 minutes in the game before. I don't know why people are playing Robert Covington.
I think it's fascinating that he played 31 minutes. And I think it's fascinating that
they were just all without Zubats.
Hold on. I'm getting there. Why didn't they play Moses Brown more then?
Defense?
I think that Robert Covington is slowly but surely going to be working his way back into this team, and they are slowly but surely working their way to what they want to be in the playoffs.
But there was no...
I'm not advocating. I want you to know this. I'm not advocating for Robert Covington. My question to you was, what are they doing with Robert Covington?
Yeah.
I'm not pitching Robert Covington as a play right now.
Yeah, and I'll clarify too, at 3,300 or 3,200 with power forward eligibility, right now he's pulling 10% ownership. This morning he was at 13. if he's going to be like end up being, once we get more value, coming in at 3, 4, 5% owned, sure, who cares? Take some shots on Robert Covington. But at double-digit ownership is where I'm just not interested, because I think there are so many ways this goes where Robert Covington does not play enough minutes to matter. Because the other thing is that he's not a great point per minute guy. Even if Robert Covington just comes and plays 22 minutes, you probably don't want Robert Covington in your lineup. So that's the other concern for me. But again, if that ownership comes down and you want to gamble on Covington, sure. It's just a double-digit ownership. I don't get it. Like, I agree with you too that you probably do see him playing more minutes going forward in general, but this didn't read to me as like a slow ramping up. This read as Zubats is in massive foul trouble and we're going to pull the emergency switch and throw in Covington.
So here's my thought process for it all. I think the more likely scenario is that you see Covington's minutes and Zubats' minutes flipped from the most recent game.
I agree.
Now, if you want to tell me that that becomes 28 for Zubats and you can get a little bit more of a bump to Covington, I also agree with that. If you remove the other 5 minutes from Moses Brown, which I think in the long term is going to be something that's happening, I think that's how you're getting Covington to like a 20 to 22 range in the dream scenario for him today. But I don't have anything further for the Clippers for that. The next question for you is, how much Terrence Mann do you want?
The answer there just went down a lot with the Washington news. Yeah. I was getting around 12%. Actually, I don't know. Where did he go? I was getting 24% before the show. Now he's just not going to be as good a play because you're getting whoever starts for Washington and then also probably mixing in whoever comes off the bench. So you just got more value there. You got more value with Indiana. So Terrence Mann exposure probably comes down, but still likely to play a ton of minutes. Still looks like a good value. And then Kawhi, I think, looks good as well. Just because, again, of the lack of pay up options, you need raw points from somewhere. And Kawhi projects as one of the top scorers on the slate with favorable positional eligibility as well. And also, for the record, I do like Zubats at 5,100.
Yeah, I like him every slate because it seems like he just never gets that ownership.
Yeah, and then now he's going against DeAndre Jordan's corpse and Zeke Naji.
There we go. We close it out. Houston Rockets, 9.5-point dogs in Sacramento, 238 total on the Houston side. It is interesting because it doesn't look like we're going to be having Kevin Porter Jr. in this one, which means we know what happens. I assume Kenyon Martin Jr. just steps into the starting lineup and fills a void like it always is. And then you just bump everybody down a peg. Jalen Green, 15% owned. Eric Gordon, 15% owned. Kmart, 15% owned. A little bit higher numbers on the FanDuel side where these prices are better. How are you feeling about Jalen Green?
Pretty good. I mean, it's Jalen Green, so you can only feel so good. He's going to try. He's going to shoot a lot. He's 7,600, should play a bunch of minutes, 14% ownership. Without Porter on the floor this year, he's averaged 1.04 DraftKings points per minute on 33.5% usage, 50.7% true shooting in 217 minutes. He just looks good. Good matchup. Eric Gordon's pulling 15% at 3,900. Probably the most surprising number I'd seen in a while doing these shows is that in 270 minutes without Porter on the floor this year, Eric Gordon has averaged 0.97 DraftKings points per minute with a 26% usage rate. That just completely was mind-blowing to me. If you put Jalen Green on the floor, it's only 51 minutes. Usage rate comes down to 20%. But still, you should see somewhat of a bump for Eric Gordon. You get more playing time for Kenyon Martin Jr. at 3,800, so he looks good. I'm also interested in Şengün and Jabari Smith, though, who are not pulling ownership. Şengün, 1.3 DraftKings points per minute without Porter on the floor this year. Not only does he have a 25% usage rate, has an 18% assist percentage, and is averaging 1.3 DraftKings points per minute. Jabari Smith has a 25% usage rate and is averaging just shy of a fantasy point per minute. So I agree that Green, Gordon, Martin should all be pulling some ownership here, but I think Jabari Smith and Alperen Şengün should be as well.
Yeah, I think they're getting very underrepresented. Guys that I would certainly want to be over the field for today. After that, like, I don't need to dumpster dive for their bench. And we're all assuming that Martin is the guy that's starting. In theory, it could be someone else, but it's just been Martin every other time this has happened.
Yeah, including last game when Porter got hurt.
Anything else for Houston?
No.
Sacramento Kings, very easy to talk about. Nothing really ever changes for these guys. Kevin Huerter, questionable once again. He missed on Wednesday. That gave a little bit of a bump to Keegan Murray, who has seen his minutes just sort of rising in general. You didn't get the bump that you would have expected for someone like Malik Monk. It just kind of became Terrence Davis. If you want to get to Sabonis, you certainly have the money to do so today. De'Aaron Fox, same sort of scenario. I don't really need too much else from Sacramento, although I don't mind getting to it because they get to play Houston.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Houston side in that Sabonis and Fox clearly look good. You know, if you can get there, Sabonis pulling 15%, Fox pulling 8%, they both look good. But then no ownership coming into Monk, Murray, Barnes, Herter. Like, they're not the best price tags, but I do think that they're all pretty interesting just given the matchup and the lack of ownership. If Herter ends up being out, then you probably get another Terrence Davis start, which would mean around 22 minutes typically for him. I think Herter went through shoot around. I definitely saw video of him running up and down the floor taking shots. I don't know if that was shoot around or just other work, but I'm assuming he goes. But you know, if he's out, then you're going to get more value here. But either way, you know, Fox and Sabonis clearly high upside guys. Malik Monk getting 2% ownership against Houston is just really, really interesting, given that he's one of those sort of like self-fulfilling prophecy guys where if he's playing like shit, he's not going to get more minutes, but your lineup with him was dead anyway. But if he's playing well, they'll just give him more minutes. And so I do think that the upside for him at 4,500 becomes interesting.
We had a final question. Last man in, Murray or Jalen Green?
It's Murray for me.
I mean, those guys aren't near each other in salary. Unless I'm stupid again. That's a $900 salary gap.
I was going to say, I can't even see Green because I had sorted by 6,900 or less.
So, but if it's Murray for you, then it's Murray. Guys, we are done here. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. Thank you to No House Advantage for being the sponsor on this one. You're getting EMac, you're getting T McB. They're taking you all the way to 7:30. Good luck tonight, everybody. Have a good weekend. Dodge Friday the 13th.
of how I'm going to try to do the reads a little bit. All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Friday night, joined by T McBee as we get ready for a little Stokastic live before lock, 30 minutes after lock, all brought to you by No House Advantage. I just want to see what people think of my outfit. I think it's an original, Terry. No one would wear something like this.
It's a good look for you, Adam. I really think, I saw it this morning when you were on the strategy show, and I still think it looks good. It's a little after Christmas. You were getting some shit for that. But, hey, anytime you got a DK sweater, you got to throw it on.
I know mean, it's soft and luxurious. You got to go with it. It's a good time here. So sadly, you guys missed it. I was trying to have some fun at Adam's expense, because that's what we like to do around here, but he ducked out of the room before Tyler could even let me in, so he doesn't get to see this. I'll have to take the screenshot and send him a picture.
You guys were on a show at the same time the other day, and I was saying, or I think it was you guys, it might have been Eric. No, I think it was you guys. And I was saying, I wanted to see you guys do the trick where you hand your hat through the video so that he takes it off screen, and now he's got it right, and you guys almost did it as I was saying it in the chat. You guys almost did it accidentally, just as you were moving, he took his and put it on, and I was like, oh, that could have been so perfect. Would have been really good.
All right, Leaky Crease wins. Had no idea this was two different guys. So yeah, this is what Adam's gonna look like in about 30 years. So good luck for him. All right, well, I usually don't wear hats, so that was some fun there. But and I'll probably get rid of this sweater as well. But in any event, we just needed a little fun here. It's Friday the 13th, right? So this was to get the mojo going in the right direction for us here as we head over there to No House Advantage, to a little MGM, and then of course the rest of the site. So we're going to have some fun here. Lots of news. Of course, the deeper dive covered everything game by game. We'll kind of hit on stuff sort of by position, a little bit of strategy thought as we work our way down into the rest of the news beginning to flood in here. We do have most of the early information. So tonight's a very staggered slate. There's 9 games. I believe it's 5 different start times. So at 7 o'clock, we do have 3 games. At 7:30, there's 1. At 8 o'clock, there's 2. At 9 o'clock, there's 1. And then at 10 o'clock, there's a pair of West Coast games. The only real news we're sort of waiting on is Minnesota. They're an 8 o'clock game, so we may have that when we do the bonus half hour, brought to you by No House Advantage from 7 to 7:30. But we're still waiting on Kyle Anderson, who's been dealing with an illness, Anthony Edwards, who has a sore hip, and then Tarian Prince. I believe he played the last game, but then he kind of got dinged up. Those guys were missing. We're pretty sure DeMar DeRozan is going to sit tonight. He's been hit with the doubtful tag. It seems unlikely. They've clarified that, well, at least as far as the NBA clarifies, that Zach LaVine is going to be available tonight. So that one's also an 8 o'clock game. And then the rest of the questionables, Kevin Huerter, well, if he's in, yay, it kind of diffuses our interest in the rest of the Sacramento Wings. If he's out, well, those guys look good on the late slate. As far as the main slate goes, we're not going to need to get there with all the different moving parts. But I think that's most of the key news. As we kind of work our way over here to point guard, the big news, of course, is no Tyrese Halliburton. So he is going to be out for a couple weeks here. Trae Young is back. He missed the last game, but we're without Aaron Nesmith for Indiana as well. No Miles Turner. So it's kind of an interesting spot there. I don't think we have that starting lineup just yet, but let's start off there. I'm handing over to you the point guard position. Oh yeah. And the 2-time reigning MVP, Luka Doncic, or Nikola Jokic, he's out as well. So Jamal Murray might be in play.
Yeah, might be. I think definitely should be at least a consideration for everybody out there. A solid point per minute contributor, and especially with Luka. With Luka, he got me going the wrong way now.
I know.
With Jokic off the floor, definitely going to see a little bit of an uptick just in things to do. Obviously in his usage and his role. So definitely like that play. Indiana Value Day on Friday the 13th. What could possibly go wrong with the TJ McConnell day? Gotta love it. 5,000 on the FanDuel slate. coming up as 28.4% optimal over their solid boom score probability. He's one of the leading players on the entire slate. He's the leading point guard on the FanDuel slate, also has shooting guard eligibility over there. On DK, he's even more relevant, 50% likely to hit a boom score because he's 4.1K over there. He's point guard only, but you can flex him into, the various spots that you get in the DK lineup. He's coming up 26.7% optimal, and he's also positively leveraged on the DK slate, which is interesting because on FanDuel, he's negatively leveraged. He's 32% owned over there compared to a 28% optimal rate. On DK, you're getting him only at 23.9% at 4,100. I think that's a nice little value buy there. It's been frustrating to go to these value plays in certain spots, and Indiana's been one of them throughout the season. And we could certainly see this go a different direction, but 0.98 fantasy points per minute in a FanDuel sense from McConnell so far this season. And we've seen this guy succeed in the past as a value play with a lot to do. So I do like the McConnell spot. There are few stars and few big scores to chase. The guys were talking about that at the top of the previous show. I do think there are viable stars on both sides at the point guard position with Steph, SGA, Darren Fox type plays, but there's also value there. So it's interesting to see how lineups fall. I'm about to kick one of my sims off here, so I'll see how my lineups really come together and what floats to the top. But I definitely like getting to those guys. Jamal Murray, of course, like you said, is coming in as a solid play from 7,800 on FanDuel, also a multi-guard eligible player on FanDuel, 6,700 on DK, 21% optimal. Nothing not to like there. He's our second most frequently optimal DK play. He is negatively leveraged, but I just don't care about individual ownership really. So I'm not going to sweat that. If it was a situation where the field was coming up, it's basically 30% ownership, 29.7. If that was one of these situations where it's, a $6,700 player who's 21% optimal and he's coming up 40, 50% owned, then I might get concerned about the individual ownership, the leverage. At 30%, I don't really care there. So I won't run from the ownership. I'd be at or above the field on Jamal Murray. Some other pieces, but nobody, really leaping off the page. There's arguments to be made for the Delon Wrights of the world. And, obviously there's upside in guys like Jalen Brunson, D'Angelo Russell, especially with Russell. If Edwards and some of those guys don't go, you could see a little bit of an uptick there. So a lot of business to take care of at the point guard position today, to be honest.
All righty. We got a couple super chats. I will get to those. We're just going to hit a couple other decision points here, and then we'll roll into them. So for the Claw and John Bryant, I have not lost those. I even have them copied into a little Word document here, so I've got them. We can get to them at our leisure. But we're going to kind of hit through the wings as well. Yeah. Terry, before we get there.
While you tee that up, we just updated everything in the boom bus. So I'm just going to drop that in while you tee up the next question.
Well, let me just welcome everybody in here that's getting off work to the Stokastic Live Before Lock, brought to you by No House Advantage. You guys can get a nice little bonus there at No House Advantage. If you sign up through the link that is in our YouTube description here, you will get a deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit. You put in 20, they give you 20. You put in 100, they give you 200, or 100, you put in 200, they give you 100 because it's a $100 deposit match. But that is a good way. That money comes out of your account first. Easy way to start your account off with a running start, if you will. Key thing over at No House Advantage, you get two different formats there. For those of you that are in states that are not yet enlightened and haven't brought in sports wagering, you can play build out player prop parlay cards, 2, 3, 4, or 5 player props on there. You got to get them all right. But if you do 5 out of 5, you do get 21x. That's the highest payout rate in the business. And then you also have the versus the house format, or probably the No House Advantage format, which is us going against other gamers, right? Peer versus peer, just like we do on the other sites. So how that works is it's also prop based. Each night they will release, they will spawn their contests and they will release the player props. Those are like salaries. They do not change with news. So they're versus the house contests. Those are dynamic props. Those will change with news. But these are, think of them like salaries. The other sites don't change their salaries when news comes out. So that's what No House Advantage is. We're going to pick 10 questions, rank them with confidence points. You get the prop right, choosing over or under. You get those points. Those points score against everybody else. And that's how you get that sweet, sweet overlay monetized. Got to monetize the overlay first.
Indeed.
All right. How are you looking there, Terry?
I'm looking fine. I just saved the file. I've got to just kick off my sim and then reopen that file. So we're good to go. I just did that. That's running now. And yeah, anytime you're ready.
All right, so we're good here on the other side. Oh, DeMar DeRozan officially ruled out. So let's use that to kind of launch. Yeah, we were expecting that. So let's kind of launch into the forward positions here. I liked Kawhi Leonard. He was my player of the day. He's looking even better now in a game without Jokic. Of course, we've got plenty of cheap guards. We've got a few decent centers. We're missing some forwards here. So I think Kawhi's an option. What else are you seeing kind of at the top of your board? And then we'll use this to move into the best play super chats that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Kawhi is a great option on both sides, largely because he's a strong play for probability on both sides, and he's coming up positively leveraged. And I know I was just saying, I don't really care about individual ownership. Well, when it's flipped this way, I do care about individual ownership because that means not enough of the field is getting to Kawhi. He's at a 9.1 leverage score on FanDuel and 8.8 on DK, 18.6% optimal, only 9.8% owned. He's basically doubling up his ownership rate in terms of his optimal rate. That's the kind of play we're chasing. That's the kind of play that's going to give you tournament winning upside. And especially on a day where we do not have a lot of 50-point or any 50-point projections for fantasy points, Kawhi is one of the top just raw projections on the board. So at under 10% ownership, that's just ideal. That's exactly what we want for a tournament on DK. I love the spot for him on FanDuel. He's 9K on FanDuel versus the 9,900 against a lower cap on DK. So it's a greater price play, but that's why he's getting a little bit more popularity. He's 25% owned over there, but he's coming up 34.7% optimal. So I love the Kawhi play. There is a lot on the board at forward. Like you were suggesting, there's value created in Zach LaVine now. There's certainly his normal upside. I think we see a little bit of an uptick in him. It was already accounted for the most part in our numbers, but now we know that it's locked in. So we're seeing him 26.5% optimal FanDuel, about 20% on DK. He's negatively leveraged on both sides, but another one of those guys that you can just slot in. You're just plugging in the, very strong potential to be at least around his median score and the idea that he could go for, a 2.5 times, 3.5 times standard deviation game anytime you put him out there in this situation. So you really like that spot. The field will be there. Then we've got some of the Indiana value guys in Isaiah Jackson. We've got Benedict Mathurin. We've got Jalen Smith on the board here. We've got Buddy Hield on the board, all with forward eligibility across both sites at either power forward or small forward. There is a lot to choose from there. They're all coming up optimal. They're all reasonable value plays in varied price tiers. Some of them trickle up to the mid-range. If we're talking about Buddy Hield, 6,700 FanDuel, 6,500 DK, about 30% optimal on DK, positively leveraged, only 27% owned. That said, 0.94 FanDuel points per minute, 1.0 FanDuel DK points per minute from Buddy. Good player, not great player, and he's priced in that range, right? This is, we're not getting an extreme value on Buddy. We're just getting minutes. We're getting some solidity of minutes there. So there's expectation of around the median projection, and he's certainly a player who could get hot and go off. So it's a play. Another guy who's interesting, just situationally with Stewart out is Sadiq Bey. We saw a potential uptick. We went to 37.9 minutes the last time out, put up 38.7 FanDuel points. It's a 0.82 FanDuel point per minute player, 0.84 on the DK board. So I don't want to get too excited. I try and stay as close as I can to a point per minute, even when I'm getting down into some of these value plays. And I think you can find that in a lot of cases on the board if you try. So I'm not going to get too carried away with it, but I do think it's very much in play just based on the expectation of a lot of minutes being there for him. And the price is right. 5,600 at small forward only on FanDuel, 4,800 small forward only on DK. I think you can squeeze a decent amount of value there, and he's positively leveraged as well. So just not a lot of the field going to him.
All right, let's hit on some super chats here. We do appreciate those. We also appreciate you guys sporting that old Stokastic avatar, or wait, it's the new Stokastic avatar. You can go to stokastic.com/avatar, download that avatar, upload it into your DFS side of choice, place top 3 in a contest with at least 5,000 entries in it. And if you finish first, second, or third, well, really top 3, three-way tie for first. That's good. 50-way tie for first. That's not top 3, but you get 30 free days of Stokastic premium content. All you got to do is tweet the screenshot with your Stokastic avatar in there to Stokastic HOF, and we will feature you on one of the upcoming promotions, as well as get you a promo code that'll get you 30 free days of Stokastic premium content. But we also celebrate all wins, large or small. So if you are proud of something, fire that off to the Stokastic HOF account, and let's have a little fun. Let's enjoy DFS. That's what it is meant to be. We've got a couple DK questions here, but I'm going to go. So we'll circle back to them, but we're going to talk first about my filler arc. He's curious about Andrew Nembhard and TJ McConnell and how they are going to coexist. He says, hey, y'all, when Andrew, don't want to spell that last name, had his huge 31-point game when TJ McConnell was in, how are we feeling about that? There should be plenty of minutes to go around, but do you have a little bit of a deeper dive into that one?
No, I mean, I think we're fine with basically how we've got to project. Let me get sorted over to Indiana so I can see what we've done with the minutes. I think they're both in, fine and in play. We've got, let's see, McConnell was the one who was really standing out. I just want to take a look where Matherin's coming in on the DK board because he's differently priced over there. Yeah, he's 5,600 shooting guard small forward on FanDuel, and he's getting a ton of ownership. So we're getting a lot of pressure on that play on the FanDuel slate on Matherin, but over on DK, we're getting him coming in 4,800 shooting guard small forward. I'm sorry, we were talking about Nembhard. I started reading off. Yeah, we were talking McConnell and Nembhard, and I started getting off on a tangent because I noticed how negatively leveraged Matherin was on both sides.
See, Terry just loves the tools. He sees the value, and he wants to get that to you guys. He's like, how can we arbitrage this? It's because he lives too close to Wall Street. He's trying to turn this into sports.
Yeah, that's it. And for CJ in the chat, who was just saying that I spout these numbers out too much, the numbers are what makes up the plays that you're making. The numbers are what's important out there. This is not sports. This is a math problem. This is all about the numbers. Anywho, Nembhard, we're projecting 33.4 minutes for Nembhard, talking about a $5,300 player on FanDuel, $4,300 player. So what I was saying is still accurate. They are differently priced on from site to site, about 30% optimal on the DK slate, but only about 8% optimal on the FanDuel slate. So just very, very different plays. So I think there's a reason to go there a little bit more on DK, where you're getting them at a nice value price versus a FanDuel price that, today with a lot of the guards, I think that's more like a mid-range price at 5,300 for Nembhard. I like the McConnell for 5,000, assuming that's how the starting lineup falls and everything. And there's no curveballs with that. I think the McConnell play looks stronger.
All righty, we've got several more, so let's start hitting these. I'm going to kind of go in an order. Don't worry, I've got like 7 of them lined up. I'm going to go in an order so it makes a little more sense here for us. Race Fan 22 says on DraftKings he has a 2v2 Sabonis and Aaron Gordon or Kawhi Leonard and John Collins.
Sabonis and Aaron Gordon or Kawhi Leonard and John Collins. Let me see where Collins is at. He's the wild card in there. I think I prefer the Sabonis and Kawhi side of that, but let me see.
Yeah, I like
Collins
that.
on DK, 9.9% optimal. He's only 5% owned. There's a little bit of leverage there. It's fine. 6,800. He's perfectly fine power forward center. And there's absolutely upside that could get you to a tournament winning level. I just think that we're getting more. We talked about Kawhi being an excellent play, and looking at Sabonis, 17.5% optimal. He's negatively leveraged, but at 20% ownership, I just don't care.
All right. Oops, let me get back to the right one here. Let's see. Andrew Tate for 3K flat on DK. Do you want to dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? I asked that of all my victims. I may have added part of that, but let's focus on Andrew Tate for 3K.
Let's focus on Andrew Tate for 3K.
Yes.
What the fuck is Andrew Tate?
I don't know. I'm trying to look and see.
I don't have a guy named Andrew Tate on this slate. I don't know what we're talking about.
It's a meme. Y'all are good. Move on, boomers.
Right. Yeah, I didn't.
Oh.
Dance with the Devil by the Pale Moonlight is a quote from the Batman movie. Michael Keaton, Batman, 1989. Jack Nicholson was the Joker. That was his, catchphrase when his name was Jack Napier. Then they threw him into a vat of acid. He turned into the Joker. If we want to talk about that, we could talk about that all day. I don't know who these nonsense names are, though.
Now I'm gonna have to somehow. I'm sure there was something at
What's the
our
meme,
expense.
Tyler, come on and explain the meme to us old guys.
Yes.
That's like the
All
top.
right.
That's like the top G guy, the Romanian guy, been in the news for some not so good things allegedly recently.
Oh, that guy. No,
That
I know
guy.
who that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's kind of a POS.
Allegedly.
All right. I don't think there's anything allegedly about that. Pretty confident, but he does enjoy pizza. Let's see. So a couple more on DK here. Combo The Claw would like your best 3 point per dollar plays on DK 5,800 or less. And then John Bryant says, what do you got under 4,400?
Okay.
Jayshawn Tate. That's who I was thinking of today.
Jayshawn Tate was coming up. I was like, all right, Jayshawn Tate, that makes sense. But that didn't sound anything like whatever the first name you would give.
No. All right.
Okay.
Got him. There you go. Got him. I know that meme.
So, I mean, you've got DK, a dead minimum Isaiah Jackson, pulling a 21.2 minute projection, is coming up as 23.9% optimal, 50% boom score probability. So there's clear value there. As we scroll down the board, the next guy pulling anything approaching a decent optimal rate is probably not in play at 6. We get a nice bump from one of his teammate, of course, Jalen Smith, at 4,000 power forward center eligible, coming up about 40% optimal, 60% boom score for 1,000 more. So you're buying from the Indiana pool, basically. You can talk about TJ McConnell in that same breath. If you sort by salary on DK from our board, it's basically all those Indiana guys and Sadiq Bey. That's essentially what you're going to see if you're doing it, sorted by salary, looking at the optimal rates and the boom score probabilities. That's really where our values are coming from on the DK board. You can go a little further if you want to talk into the mid range, and then you're still at Indiana. You're on Buddy Hield at 30%, 5.4K. You're at Jaden Ivey from the Detroit side of things. A little bit interesting. We talked about Bay. Who is this? This is Jamal Murray is only 6,700 if you want to consider that, like, for his talent level and the opportunity tonight. That's certainly a value price. I forgot where our cutoff was. I think it was 5,700. That's kind of like going from bottom up, looking at the price tiers on DK.
All right, so I'm gonna drop a link to a tweet in the chat here. This is pretty funny. This is a longtime audience member here. Stephen Leibowitz has tweeted at Adam with my picture, since Adam isn't watching this show, but Adam did see the picture. He has a nice little comment that he added to that. So you guys want to chime in and have some fun there with Adam? That is good as well. Let me see here. I believe we have who are our must plays on DK and FanDuel cash. So you kind of hit most of what you talked about would be your cash plays. You guys can kind of salt the taste there at the premium ones. Let's talk a little bit of the blue side here. We haven't covered them too much, which is hilarious because I'm now playing on FanDuel these days. I've stopped. Well, I'm still playing. Oh, I've got my hockey lineups in. I've got my college basketball lineups in. I've got all my other non-NBA sports, my NHL. Yeah, but I'm not doing NBA on DK this for now.
Yeah, I mean, I consider that more impressive than most of us winning big GPPs from time to time. Like, being able to grind things to the level that you do like that every day, multiple sports every day, full slates, hitting all the bonuses, keeping track of all the bonuses, and being able to figure out all the bonuses. I mean, I honestly do think that's more impressive, like the way that you approach it. Like, it's more work, certainly.
The spreadsheets are massive. But back, let's do. Yeah. So what are you looking at on FanDuel cash there?
So, I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff, right? It's some of the Indiana guys. It's some of the Detroit guys that we were talking about there. I would throw Kawhi into that mix just because of how optimal he is. He's a $9,000 play, but that's like your star guy that's coming in for cash that I don't think you want to leave behind there. And then, yeah, it's like McConnell. It's you could go Levine or Aaron Gordon one direction or another from that mid-range kind of price. Actually, those are different tiers, 86 versus 64. So, yeah, I think you can definitely build a nice lineup just taking a look at, sort it by optimal rate in the boom bust tool and cut it at like everybody above 15% optimal and choose from that. I think you can build a lineup price wise, and I think you can build a lineup positionally just looking at that pool. I'm just eyeballing it, so don't blame me if you're off by a couple $100, but it looks like you can find it just in that pool.
All right, we're about 30 minutes out from lock. Reminder, we're going an extra 30 minutes here, brought to you by No House Advantage. We'll be talking some versus the house plays as we get up to lock there. But remember, they do have their contest up tonight, $5,000 up top. It's going to lock it, tip off. The key thing to remember, you can still change your picks over there as long as your players have not locked as well. So if you are in a hurry, we've had some really robust late slate action here, and pretty much anything after 8 o'clock. If you want to go in and reserve some contests there, you can circle back after dinner and start building those up. Do put in an active lineup, but just pick some players from the later games, and you'll still have availability of your selections from whatever games have not tipped off. So that's one way you can go chase that overlay. You can have your cake and eat it too. KPJ or Terrence Mann, last man in.
Eat your cake and have it too.
Oh, did I say that incorrectly?
No, you said it the way that people say it, but the way that people say it doesn't make any sense.
Oh, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can eat your cake and have it too.
There you go.
Yeah.
That makes sense. What was the question?
You know what? Elaine wishes she didn't eat that cake.
Or do that dance.
All right. Back Terrence Mann, Kevin Porter Jr. last minute. I think it's got to be KPJ.
Which site?
No site given.
No site given. Let me see. Man, I could put them side by side real quick. Porter and no, I can't. Man is coming up 8.7% optimal on DK, 13% optimal on FanDuel, and for some reason this wasn't finding KPJ. Let's see, Kevin.
Okay. Which version of his name, Kevin?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
He must be in here as he must be in here as something weird.
Kevin Porter Jr.'s out, so it's got to be Kenyon Martin. I bet.
There you go.
Sorry, they didn't put KPJ, sense. But I bet they mean K.
Yeah, that's why he wasn't on.
Yeah.
He's,
well, but you have KJ Martin Jr., you have Kenyon Martin Jr.
Right, which now I'm on my third version of his name now. He's coming up 12% optimal FanDuel, 6.5% optimal DK. I think I might lean the man side of that one a little bit on DK, and probably it was a little bit on both sides. I think favors man, just going by the pure optimal rates here. You're talking about also a 33-minute play from a guy giving you 0.79 versus a 27-minute play from a guy giving you 0.82. So just on a minutes and a per minute projection, it's close, but I think I prefer the man side slightly.
All right, I see we've got some starting lineups out here, so I'm gonna go see what News God has to give us there.
This is always where my day goes haywire.
DeAndre Ayton is going to play. Levine is going to play. DeMar DeRozan is out. We already know those things. I think he's just getting ready to post the lineup, but it does look like Mathurin is starting over TJ McConnell. Not a complete surprise. The Pistons the Pacers are always doing something wonky with their lineups whenever somebody's out, right? So tonight it's Nembhard, Duarte, Mathurin, Hield, and Jackson. So, Jackson could have been Batadze. Adam mentioned earlier, Batadze is not starting. Don't play Goga. Hield looks really good. He looks good, especially on No House Advantage in their tournaments. It's a 2.5 3-pointer. Take the over on that one. Duarte looks pretty solid. I believe he's 3K on DK.
That one gets a little bit interesting with him in the starting lineup at 3K on DraftKings. He's 4,200 on FanDuel, small forward only. So he probably still kind of falls by the wayside, might trickle into a few GPP lineups from that. But I think at the dead minimum with multi-position shooting guard, small forward eligibility, he was already pushing 8.3% on a 24.3 minute projection. I don't know that was a starting projection. He probably won't go north of 30 even with this start, but that'll probably bump to 28-ish, something like that. So we'll pick up a few more minutes and probably a decent chunk of upside there. So dead minimum price. Yeah, that gives us yet another guy to play from Indiana, which is fun.
All right,
to anticipate the question, I don't really think, especially since he's at the dead minimum, as is Isaiah Jackson, as are some of these other guys in the low 4s. I don't know that you really need to cap the number of these guys that you would get in a DraftKings lineup. That said, we are talking about several guys who are well below a point per minute. So be cautious about it. Maybe don't go completely haywire and go to the max, but I wouldn't go, totally haywire the other direction and set a lot of rules to lock things off, because this is our major source of value on this slate tonight.
All right. Eric Atkinson, who had us with the KPJ, says, "Oh no, sorry, I meant Michael Porter Jr." So we were wrong on
his name came right up when I typed in Porter. And I was like, nope, it's not.
Well, 3 Porter Juniors, the rule. One of them always has to be injured at all times. And of course, the other rule that the laws of physics say that if Otto Porter Jr. ever plays more than 24 minutes, he's going to get a soft tissue injury. Guess what? Otto Porter had been out for a soft tissue injury. I believe he played like 29 minutes or 30 minutes in the game prior to being injured. I tried to tell Adam that was going to happen. Adam kept saying, no, we got to be early on Otto Porter Jr. It's like, this isn't the Otto Porter Jr. that was with the Wizards. This is the broken down version of Otto Porter Jr. But back to that, Michael Porter Jr. or man, Porter Jr. looking good, of course, without Jokic tonight.
Yeah, I would just top of my head, I would have to think that's MPJ, but let me get to it here. I was in the other window there. 10.3 FanDuel, 10% on DK. And I tell you what, that's still, based on the numbers, that's still leaning in the man direction. What I do like about the play is, if you guys recall the points per minute, with Michael Porter Jr., we're getting 31.1 minutes and a 0.93 FanDuel per minute, 0.93 FanDuel points per minute player. On DK, 0.97. We didn't have the site on that question. So there is probably more upside and more ceiling, I think, in Porter than the other two. So for GPPs, I'd probably just go that direction anyway. You're getting positive leverage. He's 6% owned on FanDuel, 7% on DK. I think, all things considered, I would probably lean MPJ out of that equation over all the other guys.
All right. And then what else do we have? The Claw's looking for an update. Who's your best DK now under 6,700? The Claw, slide on in here. Get the actual tools, as Terry's looking. You get all this stuff on demand. It's awesome. For those of you that have not signed up yet for Stokastic, go into the link below us here on the YouTube description. You can get 5 days. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of the NBA product for free. Follow the link, follow the explanation that is in the YouTube description below us here, but you get access to everything we have. And by the way, the lineup builder, lineup generator, the bells and whistles they're putting onto that now, awesome. Got to see a call with what we're doing for the island games for the NFL playoffs. That should go live tonight if it's not live already. We're allowing you to choose from half a dozen different game scripts now.
That's
pretty
exciting.
Good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
That's
nice
a pretty
stuff there.
tool.
Hat tip to the back office crew that's putting some really good stuff in there. Good one is starting. Let me get back to the Clippers, the Wizards. Jordan Goodwin, Corey Kispert, Kyle Kuzma, Kristaps Porzingis, Daniel Gafford. Jordan Goodwin is interesting. We'll take a peek where he is, because I know he's been cheap on Yahoo for a while. He is at $10. I like him best on Yahoo.
Yeah, Goodwin, definitely interesting. We had him projected 23.7 minutes a little while ago. I'm not sure where it'll go on news of starting. It might be a similar situation to what I was just saying before. And again, we're getting a 3K player, point guard, shooting guard, eligible over on DK. If that trickles up in the neighborhood of 28 minutes, now we're talking about a FanDuel point per minute player and 0.98 DK point per minute player. So there's upside there in Jordan Goodwin. Again, I think there's more upside on the DK slate for him. We had him before that news. 8.7% optimal, only 6% owned, 33% boom score probability. There's not a massive amount of ceiling there, but at 3,000, you don't need a massive amount of ceiling. It's just yet another cheapo value play that you can lock in there. And it might be an easy, fun kind of way to get away from some of that Indiana stuff. And if you remember, my big criticism there was you're talking about a bunch of guys who are some around a fantasy point per minute, but for the most part below to, well below, where Goodwin's at least giving you the fantasy point per minute or thereabouts. So I kind of like that one. Like it a little bit better on DK, but he's playable on FanDuel too.
All right, the Claude, to answer your specific question for the 6,700 or below players, I like Buddy Hield the best at 6,500 on DK. Jamal Murray, I'm assuming he's already in your lineup, but he's 6,700. You also have Aaron Gordon, just power forward eligible. Buddy Hield, you get the shooting guard, small forward combo, which makes him available for 5 different spots on DraftKings. So that's why he kind of gets the nod there. If you happen to have all those guys already in your lineup, I'd probably lean towards Wendell Carter Jr. He is center only, but he is going to be well overlooked tonight. And he has, let's look at his minutes, 30, 27, and 31, 30 in his last few games, 30. So since he's kind of come back and seems to be at least somewhat over his, I believe he had a foot issue. He seems to be doing a little bit better. This is a nice matchup for him going up against a vastly different Utah squad than prior years. So I think that's rather interesting.
Yeah,
hopefully
I think
that gets you what you needed.
I think he's giving you some value there. I like him at 6,500, a little bit better on the FanDuel slate, where you're also getting him at you're getting a center power forward play out of him. So you're getting him a little bit more optimal, 9% over there versus 6.3% on DK, but nobody's really touching him on either site, well below 10% ownership on both sites. 1.03 FanDuel points per minute, 1.06 on the DK scale. And looking at the last three games, before that, 1.12 was his FanDuel number. So a little bit of an uptick over the last his three most recent games. 36.5 FanDuel points in 30.5 minutes last time out. We've got him projected for right around that tonight. So I do think there's upside. He's not smashing through the top of our probabilities, but absolutely as a piece to rotate in through some lineups. I think he's a GPP play for sure that not a lot of people are going to.
All right. A few people asking, so what are we doing now with the Indiana Pacers? So it gets a little tricky. Indiana cannot be trusted with their rotations in the front court. We're going to probably see a little bit of Oklahoma City Thunder with them. The guys that started the first half, are they going to start the second half? I don't know. Seems cloudy. Ask again, right? Grab the magic 8 ball. The challenge is Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson sort of kind of get in each other's way here. Plus Goga's always lurking. I think they're okay, but I'm just looking at my Yahoo stuff right now. They're both centers. You can play 2 centers, but there's other value that I think we want to go to from there. If we start looking at the guards, then I think we get a slightly different answer. I'm absolutely comfortable with TJ McConnell coming off the bench.
Yep.
That's one of his better roles. Scoring, not what he does. What does he do when he gets there? Rebounds, assists, steals, and the occasional block. The rare block. Let's leave it at that. Steals, he's above average. He's kind of the hustle helper guy, right? He's just going to go in there. All of a sudden, you're going to look up and you're going to have 25 fantasy points. In his last game, he took more shots than he normally does. He went 6 for 11 of the field, but he had 39 fantasy points. I think he's flirting with 30 fantasy points tonight. I think that's solid. There is a tick of upside if he gets 3 steals. So I like him. Duarte, I think, is phenomenal. But what are we going to get? I don't know. He's kind of been the forgotten man. He has played 5 games in January. He has topped 11 minutes twice in those. Yeah, there's a lot of minutes out there now, but for someone who was it's a little bit of draft capital into him, he disappeared this season after we saw him a lot last year. I don't know that I trust him.
This season 0.65 FanDuel points, 0.69 DraftKings points per minute. So again, he's 3K Duarte, but that is not a strong per minute type of a play. And I just wanted to chime in real quick while you were going through some of these guys. I'm just looking side by side, our most recent update versus the stuff I was working off of on my Excel dashboard here. And after our most recent update with that starting lineup, basically nothing changed about how we've got these Indiana guys projected. McConnell actually picked up a tick of optimal rate. Nembhard really didn't change because we already had him projected for 33.4 minutes. So it's not like he was really picking up a big uptick in minutes. So I think how it's been through the show, how we've had it projected on the site through at least the last hour and a half or so, is pretty much how we're playing it. I think it's straightforward like that. So really no major changes. Maybe Duarte gets that little minor uptick in value on the DK slate, but even he, just looking at the numbers here as a dead minimum price, he had been 8.3% optimal and he is now 8.4% optimal. So not a major uptick there. Maybe there's another update coming where we're going to nudge his minutes again and give him a little bit more of an uptick, but I don't see any major embranches yet in Indiana here.
No, I agree with that. Another good question here, and then we got a super chat. Would you play Nembhard and McConnell in the same lineup? Yeah, absolutely. They're not going to cut into each other. There's a chance they're both in a closer game, both in the closing lineup. By the way, if they're doing mop-up duty, good chance they're in it as well, right? They kind of have some semi-protected minutes. I'm looking at what I'm going to run on Yahoo. It's going to end up probably being 4 Pacers. I'm just doing one lineup, but it'll be McConnell, Mathurin, Hield, and Smith. looks like where I'm landing on that. I am able to play Domantas Sabonis, who was one of my primary plays of the day. I can get him in at the flex, and I can still get Kawhi Leonard. So I'm getting the people that I liked earlier today, and I write those in the core building blocks or the NBA picks articles. Those are players I like no matter what. It's going to be very hard for things to change for them to become bad plays. That would be in Kawhi and Sabonis. So, everything else has moved around them. Did I know I was going to get Indiana today? No, I had no idea. I thought I was going to get Washington front court, not Washington back court, right? It's just things change all the time here. So
and Adam went through all the numbers with them on the court at the same time, and versus with Halliburton out there and everything at the top of the last show. So you can skip back if you want to just catch a quick update on how that all works. But in the setup that they've got as their starting lineup, it's not something that I would sweat. And you're not going to say, all right, by the fourth quarter, they might close this game together, so I'm going to sweat how they're going to play together. Well, we've got 3 quarters where that won't be happening most likely. So, I don't think it's a situation where we're really going to worry about playing them together where we get them.
All right, here's one for the blue side for you. This is a super chat. Mathurin and Bogdanovic. We didn't say which Bogdan. I'm sure they're both playing tonight. Or Ivy and Gordon. Doing the math in my head. I think it's going to be Bojan.
Sorry, what was the
Mathurin and A Bogdanovic, or Ivy and Gordon? I'm assuming Aaron Gordon.
I think it has to be the Aaron Gordon side, right?
I would lean that way.
22.9% optimal, only 17% owned, 5.7 on the leverage score. One of the better leverage plays with a lot of upside for only 6,400 on the board. I already forgot who the other player in that side of the equation was, but
Jaden Ivey.
Ivy. Well, maybe that does bring it down a little bit. Where are we at on Mr. Ivy? Yeah, no, Ivy works too. 32.7. I'm sure he's actually in a lot of my lineups, and I just haven't gotten the chance to sort them yet with 13 minutes here. But
I was going to ask how you doing, because I'm not playing near the volume as you, so I'm not.
Yeah, no, we're actually doing okay. I just haven't gotten the chance to really eyeball them, but I'm in the process of copying them over, and it doesn't matter if I get to eyeball them or not. Ivy coming up 19% optimal. Another very solid leverage play actually on the FanDuel slate. Given the news in that Detroit rotation, certainly going to be some work to do for everybody. So I think there's upside there. Crosstown on DK, 18% optimal, also positively leveraged. So yeah, nice little play from the mid-range tier. 5,900 shooting guard on FanDuel, 5,400 point guard shooting guard on DK. So a little bit more flexibility on the DK boards. But yeah, definitely in play. I think that is supporting evidence, all the evidence we need for the Ivy and Gordon side of that question.
All right. They're asking, for me, the front court really doesn't matter. We have Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson each for like 24 minutes. Great. Move or take away 2 minutes from each of them. I don't know what's going to happen. Or Goga gets hot and he steals 2 minutes from each of them. So it's very hard to tell. Oh, I forgot James Johnson. I forgot he's in the league.
James Johnson's there too. And it was the way they ran it the other day. It doesn't really give us any
no indication whatsoever, because
we had Goga play the entire fourth quarter.
Yeah, somebody played the whole fourth
Smith
quarter
in the starting lineup. Yeah, it was a disaster.
Cray. All righty. Green check mark. I'm trying. Oh, there we go. So green check mark. This is his milestone shot. They missed it on the other show. I would like your thoughts. Single entry on DK. How are your? This isn't really a pick 'em, but it's our Jakob Poeltl, Trey Jones, and KJ Keldon Johnson. What are your thoughts on San Antonio? How viable are they in single entry? Yeah, the big three for the moment.
How do the Spurs look on DraftKings today? All right, let's take a look at that. Keldon is not all that far, but he is the top optimal play. He's 6,800. Ultimately, there's not really a lot of reliable optimal lineup, and there's not really a ton of upside. There's a lot of guys here who are going to come in right around their median projection. A lot of 34.2, 32.1, 33.4 Keldon, Trey, Poeltl in that order. So I'm expecting those numbers, low 30s to low 40s type production from these guys. You're getting them owned right around where they should be for Trey and Poeltl. And then Keldon is owned basically double what his optimal rate is. So when we're seeing numbers like that, they're fine to rotate through a number of lineups if you're entering 150 into a large field tournament and you just have some, spots where it's just, all right, I've used, X amount of this guy, so let me plug a different guy in. That's kind of where I'd use these guys today. I don't really see the upside for a single entry. I think we can do better.
Okay. My one thought on the single entry is the chalk is going to be uber chalk as we see. So these would come in probably a third to half discount on what we're seeing on the boom bust or the leverage tool. So I don't dislike them, but 9 games, 18 teams, lots of plays. I think it's okay. I don't think it's getting super cute. It's just that Pop doesn't really seem to want to play anybody more than 30, 32 minutes in pretty much any circumstance at this point.
Yeah. And if I'm chasing plays, specifically with the idea that the field is going to own more of the chalk, well, the chalk is chalk because it's good, right? Those are good plays in a vacuum as far as production, as far as probability to be the best play positionally, price-wise, etc. So if I'm chasing those plays, I want to try and do it with like the next best options as far as the probability goes. I don't want to drop down to 3 guys that are all below 10% probability to be in the optimal lineup, all right around 10% probability to give me a ceiling score. I need better than that, regardless of format. I think it's fine. I get what you're saying. I don't disagree with it, that strongly, but I just think that it's, I think there's too much discussion around getting away from chalk. And it's something I brought up a lot in our Discord. And I've said it a few times on this show. I really don't sweat individual ownership like at all. I use ownership in basketball like a guide rail for where the slate's going to be versus like how I want to weight my entire portfolio of lineups against how the slate's entire portfolio of lineups is going to be structured. I don't really care what any individual guy on the slate, unless it's something, completely upside down and bananas, obviously, and more so over ownership than under ownership, or under ownership than over ownership. I think we get way too carried away getting away from good chalk and chasing very low probability plays. Under 10% probable, I think we can do better.
All right. They're asking Wendell Carter is 4% on DK. Here's a different way to look at it. Pretty much anybody outside of Indiana, Chicago, and New Orleans is going to be 10% or less tonight on DK.
Sounds about right.
So anybody you're looking at for that's not from one of those 3 teams, if they're from one of the other 18 teams, you're gold. Ooh, Marcus Peterson is out for those of you that might be playing hockey like me.
I swear I thought you were going to say football.
Different Marcus Peterson.
Always so much space in this brain.
Yes. So let me just make some quick adjustments there because I don't want to lose. Full slate of hockey? Of course. Both slates of hockey tonight.
It's a madman. While he's doing a show, ladies and gentlemen, I'm struggling to get my lineups prepared to do just one slate of basketball on one site. I'm sitting here waiting for this thing to flip upside down. And so you're playing basketball and hockey on multiple sites while hosting the show. It's astounding.
Yeah, sorry. I'm updating my college basketball lineups for some injury.
College basketball.
Yes.
Love it.
This guy named Sam Greasel. We're going to call it Greasel. Like the Greasel. Yeah, like the alternate energy. There we go. Yeah, Peterson has like 15 keys in his name.
Tell me more.
Yes, it's
I feel like we can get in on the ground floor with the fast food businesses if that's the case.
There we go. All right, now I'm turning my attention back to FanDuel. But guess what? As you guys watch me panic, not really panic, because if I miss the first couple games, I won't live. That's the Indiana game. So now I'm gonna get
that one. You need that one.
So we're gonna have some fun. We got 6 minutes to go. I'm gonna talk through this real quick, and then we're on for another 30 minutes. So we talked for your guys' lineups. Now I'm gonna do mine. So the fun thing about FanDuel, thought I was a bleepity bleep 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 robot. So that was pretty annoying, Terry. So I've now, I can't use them in Chrome. I have to use them in another browser, because at least that doesn't make me hold down the button to claim that I'm not a robot. By the way, I'm not a robot. But as soon as I'm done saying I'm not a robot, it makes me hold down the button and say, I'm not a robot again. So it's like, if we wanted the Ouroboros snake eating its tail, we have it. This would be a perpetual source of energy, free, clean energy. But FanDuel, I'm not going to do that. So now I have to put them over into a different browser. Now, fortunately, last night
exclusively use Chrome. I
Yes.
have had that happen, but where I've gotten, had to hold down the thing, but I've never had it not work and send me back through that cycle over and over like that.
Yeah,
That sounds mildly frustrating.
Anger, I believe, was the word that I was thinking of a different word. But so anyway, so that was kind of fun. And then the other thing I got to be careful on, because I'm so ingrained on playing DraftKings, I sent Terry a message last night because I sadly, now I'm building my FanDuel lineups on DraftKings. No wonder my settings aren't there.
So
I tried to
upload. Tell the story about.
I was about to tell the story that I was trying to upload my FanDuel lineups to DraftKings. That does not work either.
No.
So you got
surprisingly.
You got to be a little careful here.
God,
so
wouldn't that be so nice though if they could just do like a universal stats sites and DFS sites? Everybody's getting together and just deciding what these guys are named, deciding how to spell it, where the accent marks go, and giving them one universal player code for every site. Just the same number on every site. Wouldn't that be amazing? Come on, FanDuel, DraftKings, we can get together on this.
We could do it for the children. I need somebody from Denver.
I think I'm mostly loaded up here, by the way.
All right. Oh, I've got 2 minutes. Shiest.
We got time.
Michael Porter.
You do that. I'll sort and see if we've gotten any changes on that Indiana situation on DraftKings that we've been talking about. Looks like it's 5 minutes ago on the last update. So I think it's basically the same stuff, but we'll jump into it because it is obviously, the big Megillah on this slate. Sorting by optimal rate.
Megillah, there's a heck of a word.
That's a Steve McBride special. That one came all the way down the DNA stream from my dad. Looking like the same exact setup we had before. Jalen Smith, Isaiah Jackson up at the top, 30-ish% optimal. TJ McConnell, 28% optimal. Buddy, Matherin is both sitting there in the 20s. Nembhard only 7.8% optimal. So still not really getting an uptick in Nembhard. He does have a nice boom score probability, right? We are seeing ceiling on his 4,300, but we're not seeing him appear in the optimal lineup all that frequently. Just, I guess, by virtue of having, guys on his own team that are occupying those spots. And we only need a certain number of value guys, right? Otherwise we just start leaving several thousand in salary on the table. So only a certain number of these value plays are going to be going into any lineup. And since the other guys are coming up better, it just means we're getting higher end guard plays for one thing. We're getting a lot of this value into the forward spot. Like we talked about, we had the Stephs, the SGAs of the world and so forth. So it's just how the lineups are flowing today. If you wanted to put a little bit of a thumb on the scale and get to a little bit more of Nembhard, maybe you can say, all right, he's not coming up optimal because of that specifically. So in the event that all the star guards don't get to their high-end ceilings, maybe you can find that sliver of an angle for the slate where, that play does work out. It's just a lot less likely. So you want to focus probably more on the front court guys and TJ McConnell.
All right. Now I just got to find the tab that still has FanDuel open, upload, and then we'll be good. This is the moment of truth, Terry.
My moment of truth is always when I open, for some reason, I always do it on my phone. I upload everything on my computer. Then I pick up my phone and look at everything on here. I don't know why. But my moment of truth is always going to the quick player replace and making sure that nobody who is out is listed on this page. Because that's a clue that something got screwy and I got to replace somebody real quick. So let me do that. Scrolling down. I can read off some of these player experiences.
All right. Before we do that, let's see if we got any other super chats. And we're going to stay on for another 30 minutes here talking about Millhouse Advantage. We've got, hang on. So we've got shout out to you guys. This is from Kyle Chmielewski. Says he got fifth in the $12 single entry yesterday. 2v2 for tonight. Şengün and Aaron Gordon, or Michael Porter Jr., since he's the only Porter Jr. playing, and Jalen Green. I would lean towards the first one.
Yeah, Şengün didn't really come up, I don't think, a lot for me throughout the day, but he's usually fine. He's never really overly priced or anything. Getting to him here, that was a DK board or
yes.
a FanDuel. Yeah, DK's 10% optimal over there, 6,900. It was pairing him with Aaron Gordon.
Yes.
Yeah, I would go that route because we like Gordon before. So I think you're getting some nice value there. He's under owned, 6% owned versus 10% optimal. Solid little leverage score, and certainly some upside on his 35-point projection. 1.19 FanDuel points, 1.19 DK points per minute.
All righty, we got that at lock there. So before we slide on into the No House Advantage phase, I do want to bring up BetMGM, because here's how you guys can get 2 months of Stokastic Premium for free. You go into your Stokastic account. You do not have to have an active subscription, but if you're logged into your Stokastic account, you click on the BetMGM description or link in the YouTube description below us, or any of the BetMGM buttons on Stokastic, and that will take you over to BetMGM to create your account. That is also tagging you with the URL that says, hey, you're coming over from Stokastic. That's how you're going to get the 2 free months. You go in through another window, another methodology, you hit the back button. You're not coming in with our little code that's attached, and you're not going to see our little code, because I tried this. You're not going to see it once it goes over there. Don't change your mind. Don't stop and have dinner. Create your BetMGM account. Once you put in $10 and play $10, as soon as that settles, that $10 bet, they will give you a promo code that will get you 2 free months of Stokastic. It just pops up as a little promo code if you're on your desktop. Don't worry if you click past it. It's still going to be in your BetMGM inbox that's available on the site, also available on your mobile device. I did it. It's a lot of fun. You can also get a first bet with insurance up to $1,000. That means if you do a $1,000 bet and you win, you get it. You get the money. You get everything. You do a $1,000 bet and you lose, you've got bet insurance up to $1,000. They will give you additional credits in the form of bet tickets, and then you have a week to use them. So for me, I did the $1,000 wager, lost. I got my 5 tickets, my bet credits back via the insurance methodology, and I had 5 $200 wagers to make. So that's how that works there. If you are in Ohio, please remember that got to be careful when you're doing your wagering here on the sports. And if you have any gambling issues, problems, go to 1-800-GAMBLER. Always very important.
And how old do you have to be to gamble?
21 or older in the vast majority of states.
How about that?
We don't want to fracture any laws. That would be bad. That would be bad. All righty. Faded the Pacers, hoping for a leak in the roof. Zach F. Why did you make me say that? That's the Andrew Tate play of the day. See what I did there? Tate.
Very nice.
All righty. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, there we go. All righty. So we have some fun here. So you were saying you were asking me something about when you were looking at the player page on your mobile device. You were going to ask me where I ended up with ownership or something.
Yeah, I was just, since his name didn't come up and he had been a talking point for a lot of people throughout the day, where'd you end up on Covington? Because we didn't go over him really at all. I ended up with a solid handful of shares on FanDuel.
1.3%. So I made 70 lineups. So I'm guessing 1 lineup.
Okay. I have him not at 20%, but between 10 and 20%. Looks like, where is he? About 18%
like that.
Right now.
Oh, I didn't see the picture. Oh, I'll have to go back and look at it. Tyler said he had a new picture here for me. I see somebody in chat, K2 Superman said, if that picture of EMac doesn't scream 1-800-GAMBLER, then I don't know what does. Oh, I can't wait to see. Have I surpassed the Eric Lindquist picture? I don't know.
I don't know that that's doable.
We shall see soon enough. Super chat here from William Collins says 2v2 on FanDuel. This is over on the blue side, Terry. Nikolai Vucevic and Jamal Murray, or Steph Curry. I've heard he's pretty good. Or Alfred Şengün, who you hate despite him getting a perfect triple-double in his last game. 10 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists.
I hate Şengün now?
Yeah.
Wasn't I just speaking?
You didn't say lock button. That's how we talk in the DFS world. If you like somebody, it's a lock button.
It's a lock. That's it. It's a smash. It's a lock. Otherwise, it's a hard fade.
Stone.
You either love it or you fade it, right?
Oh, that's a t-shirt. Love it or fade it. Yes.
Love it. That works. Copyright. Yeah, looking down the board, Steph was one of our favorite guard plays. If we're sorting by optimal rate on the FanDuel slate, we get to Şengün. I might have undersold him, honestly. I didn't really look at him through the day, like I said, but he's coming up as our 20th most optimal player at any position and our 4th most optimal player among guys who have center eligibility, but among guys who are center only, he's 2nd most optimal behind Vooch. Vooch is 17% optimal, but certainly owned a lot more. So it depends on what you're looking for out of the play. I definitely do think there's a lot of upside in that Curry and Şengün combination, though.
Yes. I ended up, he's my 8th highest player on FanDuel. I set my player caps basically at 50. I let Kawhi Leonard, Jordan Goodwin, and TJ McConnell go a little bit higher, but everybody else kind of capped at 50. But I've got Şengün at 38. I still have Vooch at 22%. So
okay, looks like I have. I'm just looking at my actual exposures. I have 28% Vooch, 27.3% Şengün. And they're actually all Domantas Sabonis is in between here. 25% Steph Curry, 24.6, but essentially 25.
All right.
Top owned player by a mile is Kawhi Leonard, followed by TJ McConnell. I'm happy about one of those. I'm not too thrilled with the other one, but it is a good play. It just never ever works out for me, Mr. McConnell.
All right. So we talked about the BetMGM. Getting 2 free months there. And of course, better be over 21. One thing I forgot to mention, if you don't go in through our links, I recommend using the links, but the promo code, we do have an official promo code now. It's Platinum Sub, all one word. If you don't know how to spell platinum, that's okay. Be logged into your Stokastic account, click on one of our links to BetMGM. Just throwing it out there. Platinum can be hard unless you're holding a bud. Platinum.
Yeah, maybe the gang behind the scenes might want to consider making that one a little bit easier.
Yes,
There's a lot of people who are going to put W's in there. That's going to go. That's not it.
All right, so we got
using
that.
Like 3rd grade words here, guys, and that's not an insult to anybody specific or anything like that or anybody in chat. It's just a general marketing concept. You want to go low end. It's the reason the newspapers are written on like a 5th grade level.
I can't spell my name.
That's good, Tyler. Tyler Xander with an X. There we go. No house advantage. We talked about them. We're going to slide over there and talk a little bit about
everything up.
Little versus the house here, Terry, with the free wagers.
All right. So I loaded up the versus the field contest to look at, but all right, I'll go to our website where those projections are free.
That's where I'm going as well. So I will look at that. We could throw out a few field contests. I'm assuming did the other night tonight there was a lot of games, so they locked it at 7, but they were looking at they went an extra half hour yesterday.
Yeah.
So I dropped the link there in chat. Hit the like button for my ability to share technology with you. But that link will bring you to a page with 3 tabs. The first tab is going to be versus the house. That is the live wagers that No House Advantage is posting. The second tab is going to be the pick'em props. You're going to see some dramatic over-unders on there. That is the static props that have lasted or that were posted last night. Those are the salaries, right? That's for their tournament games. And then the optimal lineups. Oh my God, this is too much work. We just built 200, 400, what is it? About 800 optimal lineups there for you. So if this is it's too much, you need a fainting couch, go over here to the optimal. Nobody knows what a fainting couch is anymore. Go over to the optimal lineups. You're not sitting in the front parlor on the fainting
with
couch.
The vapors.
Oh yes,
walking around on your parasol.
Indeed. One of my favorite things was to go to Carson City in Nevada. When I was a kid, out by there, but they had like the Ponderosa, Carson City, the Silver City Saloon, all that fun stuff. That was pretty cool when you were a kid. And
Did
so
they have like the old Western show where the guys come out shooting at each other,
gunfight, ladies walking around with the parasol. Right. You would go into the different places, and then here's the front room and the horsehair couches and all that stuff. So
also a great scene in the original Vacation.
Nice.
Shoots him in the chest.
Nice. I had not thought about that in a long time.
Excellent.
All right.
Larry C in the chat making a funny point, saying you have to spell Stokastic wrong to find out how to spell platinum right.
Well played. I like that. Eric and Terry, what is your biggest amount one-on-one contest? I don't know what that means. Like, what's the most
one-on-one contest?
Like a head-to-head? I don't know. I've played like $500 head-to-heads before, but I don't play at that volume anymore.
I have literally never played a head-to-head in DFS. Never once.
Oh, all right. Well, that's interesting.
I basically have never played cash. I play it every now and then. I threw in, back in the day, I used to throw lineups into cash, but I just find it boring. And I don't find a lot of upside in it.
Yeah, no.
I've just like I said, quite literally never played a head-to-head in FanDuel.
Yeah, and someone was asking me, I couldn't answer on Wednesday because we were pretty crazy. But why did I give up on DraftKings? No, I haven't. I'm in my last 100,000 before I hit my million in entry fees. So I would like to use it in the sports I'm most profitable with. That would be using the Stokastic projections. Hat tip to Matt Gajeski for college basketball. Also, shout out there to Jay Kari for NHL. Those are probably my two most profitable sports at this point, including college football. So I'm sticking with those. I may play baseball there, or I may continue. I'm just kind of dabbling over here on FanDuel. I may go over to Yahoo. We'll see. I cut back my volume a little bit. I'm playing about $150 a night on FanDuel just because I'm a little nervous. I haven't used this. I've used the other interface for 9 years or 8 years, whatever it is. So I got to make sure I'm doing this correctly. I've already had a couple screw ups that could be very expensive. I learned that over when I got a little cute on Yahoo chasing NFL overlay or MLB overlay on NFL weeks, and I burned through $600 2 weekends in a row because I screwed up my upload file. So I'm trying to be smart about this. Biggest one-on-one, I play about $300 $400 a day between all my DFS and my sports wagering. That works out to somewhere between $100,000 and $120,000 a year. So not a lot when you're looking at like what Adam's doing. Adam probably does that in a week. But Lindy and those guys, they're probably hitting $1.5 million in entry fees. So it just kind of depends. So what I'm doing is a lot. When I explain to my wife, it's like, how much are you doing? It's like, no, it's the same couple $1,000s over and over and over and over and over.
It's not, yeah. You're not going through that actual. I mean, you are and you aren't, right?
But the key is to never have to redeposit. So I don't have to redeposit. That's the nice thing.
Yeah. Chips on the table.
But let's look at a little no house advantage here. So again, so if we look at these, we're going to build out player props, and this sort of what do we call it? Safe and sane. Build out 2 and 3 question cards here. Don't go for the 5. The 5x 21x payout. Or 5 for 5, you get 21. That's the highest in the industry. You're probably going to get that 1 out of every 24 or 1 out of every 27 times, depending on how you look at the math. Losing proposition there. Is it fun? Sure. Throw a buck on it? Yeah, no problem. But if I like to play 5, 10, 20 bucks when I'm doing parlays like this. So I would say use the 2 or the 3. You're more likely to get payouts. You could do, $5 wagers, kind of mix through the handful of ones that you like. Because remember, they're just dabbling in this. They don't have as many available offerings as the sports books, obviously, or some of the other sites. But all the star players you're expecting to see are there. But we're going to talk about Alfred Şengün, under in assists, 67%. Norman Powell, under in rebounds, 65%. Franz Wagner, under in points, 64%. And then after that, the next best 4 bets are 60% likelihood, and then everything's below 60. Wait a second, I got to pick 5 of those. So let's see, 60% times 60% times 60% times 60. Wow, I'm not going to hit this very often with all of them, right? So let's be a little smarter with that, and you get more shots at it this way. So I like the 2 and the 3x because I like the dopamine hit. I like to win. I don't want to have to redeposit. I don't have to explain what's on the credit card, right? Because I one hell of a nit here when it comes to these things. Not that she'd care anyway, but it's like, but every time she's like, well, what about you and your DFS? I'm like, when was the last time you saw anything on the credit card?
There you go.
You haven't. So let's not talk about that.
It seems like that's one that can get volleyed back and forth. And from what I understand of how marriages work, when was the last time you saw something on the credit card? That can go both ways. Like,
yes.
Both spouses can use that effectively as a weapon in an argument, I think.
Yeah.
What was the Şengün prop for his assists?
It is 4.5.
4.5.
We haven't projected
for leading probability.
3.8. That's our best probability. 2 out of 3.
67% to go under. Just doing, just looking at it real quick, by the way, you were saying, 60% times 60%. If it's 5 of them, you're talking about, assuming I hit this 5 times, about a 7.5% probability to come through. So, that's your math on it. Assists wise for Şengün, with his assist rate 16.8%. He's averaging 2.8 a game, 3.8 in a per 36 cents. Yeah, it seems like that one holds up fairly well, and the math makes sense on that. I don't think it's all that fragile. It's just going to be, right around what he's averaging. It's not like we're seeing a unique situation for him here.
See, is someone making fun of me? News God doesn't like when people make fun of me. Hey, Tyler, can I do a screen share? You won't let me?
What do you like? You want to share your
Yeah,
screen?
like what happens if I hit share screen? Will it show my screen instead of my face?
No, it'll just show parts of it because it'll be covered up by the overlay and stuff. Like you and Terry would just disappear and chat would just be confused.
Well, that wouldn't be very fun. So I'm gonna do this. If I give you a screenshot, will you put it up on for me?
That I can do.
All right. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna drop this to you. I want the people that are making fun of me. We're gonna put this in here, and it doesn't need any introduction because you can just put that up there. There's a big green.
They're making fun of Lindquist, not you, but.
Oh, okay. Well, you can do that, but
you could still.
But
flex
go ahead.
On them.
Let's flex on them. Let's have some fun. There's some haters in there.
Okay.
Let's do that. We'll have some fun. So this is what happens when you don't hit the redeposit button. So we'll let Tyler put this up, and we're gonna have some fun. Right, I'll know when it's up because I'll see Chad going crazy. So the story behind this is they're gonna say, "Oh, why don't you withdraw?" Well, what am I gonna do with this too? If I withdraw, this goes into the bank account that the wife and I have. I didn't want to do that. So here's what I did do. I gave her $8,000 worth of Amazon credit gift cards that I got out of DK with all my rewards points. Put those in her Amazon Prime account, and then poof. She's happy. She loves DFS. She's down there right now saying, "Oh, your show's running late. I'll just keep dinner warm for you. This is going to be great, right?" Happy wife, happy life. That's what we do with all this. So there you go.
Ladies and gentlemen. Smart man. He's giving you DFS advice. He's giving you life advice. I hope you guys out there are writing this down, all you youngsters out there. EMac put in a mile so that you don't have to.
Yeah. So there we go. Just have fun. So I'm assuming you show that. You can then hide that. You don't need to show that again, Tyler. Delete it if you already put that up there. So again, this is being smart, playing within your means, figuring out what you'd like to do, taking advantage of redeposit bonuses, playing on the smaller sites like No House Advantage. Guess what? You win there. That money comes out. That money can go into other sites where you really, really want to play and take your shot at the gigantic brass ring. Gunn and I have talked about it before. Neither one of us plays the Millie Maker. Why? Two top heavy. I do different things and do what I want. How long did it take me to get that money? That I think my last withdrawal was maybe 18 months ago. I had about 30,000. I took it down to 30,000, so I've built it back up. So that just it is what it is. Could I live off this? No. Is this full time? No. What am I going to do with this?
But if you're trying to live off it, you'd be playing differently too.
Yeah. So like Adam and Gunn and those guys and Terry, where this is your primary source of income. Shit, mine is like, hey, you want to have fun, never have to redeposit, and take your wife on a trip every now and then? Do it my way. You want to live on this stuff? Get a lot of Maalox, a lot of Pepto-Bismol, some Tums, right? Probably some weed, because you're gonna have stress.
Just learn to get numb to it all and experience neither highs nor lows. That's the way to go. The least is
yeah.
We're the MTV
so no.
We experience neither highs nor lows. How is it?
This is just you guys. It's not a fun. Dude, Adam. Hey, all those guys are. Yeah, these guys are all making six figures a year. The good ones are, right. So in some cases more. I'm not at that level. I'm also not risking that. But my ROI is around 6%. Last year my ROI was 10%. If I just did the back of the envelope math, I haven't got my 1099s, but probably another 9% just on DK, not on the other sites, but just on my DK play was in reward points, dollars, gifts, whatever it was that I got to pay taxes on now. Yeah, but
solid W's just across the board.
Just be smart. Yeah. Because it's like, let me think now. If I just was smart and in the end of 2 years, I'd have 20K, would I like that? Yeah, I would. Okay, well then do it this way, right? Do I want the rush of the big 6-figure hit? Well, I'm never going to get that because I don't play those, right? So yeah. Is my way better? No. Is my way bad? No. Is what Adam does.
I mean,
worse
honestly,
or not? No.
like, yeah, and I exclusively play those, and I happen to do well. But if you were taking bets on which one of us was going to be flat broke in 2 years, from trying to play full time, like it would be me. Like that would be with the smart money, because you play a smart, solid, strong approach. And if you tried to just, like you said, live off of it, you would adapt that approach to your needs, and you would be able to create a solid, reliable revenue stream out of it. Where mine is just scattershot all over the place. I'm confident in what I do. I know that I'm doing things right, and that's why I win from time to time. But boy, sometimes it can get a little bit thin out there, Going back to the NHA board, our pal Sean V in chat, always a very active chat member at the very least, if not accurate, did point out that KPJ is out, and that might have an uptick because I did say it wasn't a unique situation for Şengün. He did say, the offense flows through Şengün. In all his minutes this season with KPJ out, it was, let me get back to it. It was 100 and change, 182 minutes with no KPJ this season. His assist rate goes to a 17.9% from a 16.8%. I know it's, we're talking about like a 1 assist difference between where we've got him projected and what the line is, but I'm not going to change. The math doesn't change based on that uptick, right? Maybe a tiny fraction of a percent. Maybe you lose 1%, 2% off the probability, but that's not equation changing uptick. It's worth bringing up. It was worth looking at. I don't think it really changes it. Maybe it makes it a little bit more fragile though.
Yeah, we got to see what a 98th percentile outcome in the last game for Şengün. It's possible. Yeah, could it happen again? Sure.
It's in the range of possibilities.
All right. So, Ben P. So, serious question. What happens when you've been profitable for 2 years and then hit a 2 or 3 month cold streak and the bankroll starts getting thin? All depends what you're doing on your money, right? So I'm not even doing 0.1% of my bankroll every slate, right? But I'm playing all these slates, and I'm doing all these days and all these different games and all these different formats. So I usually don't go for 2 or 3 months, but again, I'm playing the 100-mans, the 500-man. I'm not playing the giant top heavy contest where if you get a 99.9% outcome, if you didn't get first and you got second, congratulations on your set of steak nuts, right? These stuff's too top heavy for me. I don't like doing this. I had a big downswing when I thought about doing this full time. I really ramped up my volume after a couple nice wins. Ended up losing about 60K for my profit. Ended up, I think, down 25 or 30K for that year. It's one of my 2 losing years. At that point, I was like miserable. I hated this. I didn't want anything to do with it. I said, I'm not going to do that anymore. I want to make this fun. I want to make sure I like it. So that's where I find all these little ways of challenging it. Yeah. Have I gotten to the sports wagering now where I need to put down 50 or $100 instead of 5 or 10 to feel something? Yes, I have. I didn't think that was going to happen, but I don't do that very often. Right. I may do that once a week. So,
and in my experience, if you hit that, prolonged losing period, you just basically set a point in your bankroll, you watch your bankroll dwindle, and you set a point and you say, all right, if we get to that point, this is where we start reconsidering things. This is where we start, thinking about life differently, thinking about our approach. Is there a flaw? Did I create a leak somewhere in my process? And then you just consistently move that goalpost back until you start winning again. It's basically the only way to go about it. You have to, part of it is just deluding yourself into the idea that you're definitely going to win again. And part of it is, being confident in your approach, your process, and the numbers. And, a great part of that is having a strong, authoritative, reliable source like our site. And I'm not even shilling for the site here. I won't plug any of the plans or anything, but get yourself an authoritative source and use it and stick to it and stick to the numbers. And that's really the approach. You're going to, anything else is the road to ruin. And that's really the truth.
All right. Giddy or Clay for tiers. That's a super chat from Ace of Spades. For me, I would say Giddy.
I've also never played tiers.
Basically, it's DK points.
I know how it works. I just haven't looked at either of those guys, really.
Yes. And then my filler arc, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard was my featured play of the day. I still feel strongly about that. He is my first or second most popular play for me on FanDuel. Let me tell you where he is. He's my number 1 play on FanDuel right now, 68% of my lineups. So
I have him actually a little bit more than that. He was by far my top play of the day. So I have a massive amount of him, but I actually really like SGA as well.
Yep. I like him. Again, I only did 70 lineups tonight, so I'm 10%, so that's half the field. I'm still getting my sea legs under me on FanDuel. I would know what that meant on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I'm still not sure. I see someone saying, "Oh, I see you in the bigger field ones." Yeah, the 20 maxes. I like playing the 20 maxes. I'll play those $1 on down, whatever the size is. Those I don't care because it's a more disciplined approach. And you're not going against the 150 maxers. So I'm on FanDuel. That's the main one I'm doing, is that they do like some days it's 20, some days it's 25. It's like 222 or something like that. So I max that out. I play a whole bunch of their 100-man leagues, their 20-man leagues. I play that nickel. It's a 150 max. I thought they had a quarter that was 150 max. They did in baseball. I don't know if they got rid of that for basketball. I know they have it in football. So I'm just doing.
They're definitely.
I couldn't find
a great
it.
Quarter contest.
Yeah,
I haven't played it in quite a while.
It's
but,
20 max now. So and they only do one per day. 20, that's right. Yeah, and so I played that. But
contest back in the day.
For baseball, I like to do 150 in those. But the point being, I'm not going to be in any of the featured giant tournaments. Those are bankroll sucks, in my opinion. On DK, I like to play the winner take alls. I didn't understand what the FanDuel beat the score is. I think that's just anybody who beats the set score shares whatever the prize pool is. So I was kind of
that's what that is, and it's a little higher than like what the projected cash line in a cash game would be. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, and it pays like 12% of the field or something like that, if I'm remembering it accurately.
But I was trying to again. So I'm like on day 10. Yesterday was my second losing day. Do I think that's sustainable? No, not at all. Did I get lucky on at least 2 of those? Yes. I shouldn't have been where I was. But hi, welcome to DFS, right? So again, as my goal is to be between now and the end of basketballs to make $3,000 on DK or on a FanDuel and basketball. I got like 70 slates left, probably. I'll probably play $150 a day, maybe 200 as I'm starting to get a little bit better. Play some of the smaller
baseball season by the time this is over with basketball.
Oh, I forgot about baseball. Yeah. So we'll see. And maybe 2000 is a better thing. But again, I'm not aiming big.
Yeah.
I hope to not lose 2000. If I start losing or I don't think this is good, I'm going to switch over to Yahoo. But I'm going to find something other than DK for basketball. Just try something different. Those are the main things. So
yeah. And honestly, I mean, again, we've talked about it a lot over time with Yahoo, but maybe we haven't been hitting it as hard recently. But that's a site where, you can get in and not everybody's playing over there. I'm not playing over there. I know a lot of the pros and a lot of the guys aren't really focused on Yahoo. So you take our same projections, our same data, and you apply it to that site. That might be the smarter approach and the more profitable approach in the long run. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and someone was saying, "Oh, let Terry say." No, Terry espouses exactly what I'm saying. We try to teach this to you guys in those that are in our Discord and formerly the Slack and the DFS 101. This should be fun, right? Think of this like a social outlet, or
if you're not having fun, you should quit.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're making millions of dollars and you're miserable, I guess keep going. But if you're not having fun, you're most likely not winning. And if you're not winning and you're not having fun, definitely quit. But even if you're making a couple of bucks here and there and you're just miserable about it and this isn't fun for you, find another hobby. It's just not worth it, It's my approach.
I see Effect MD. Oh, he wasn't trying to be jerk. No, I didn't think you were, but you had a good point because I made it sound like I only play these leagues. No, I play pretty much the limited entries for those. Oh, good question from Ben P. How come FC isn't putting the latest game into the guard forward utility spots anymore? That I don't know. Are you? The only thing I'd say is, are you? Depending on the sport, sometimes their schedules are off for college basketball. I haven't really noticed it for NBA.
I know that was being discussed the other day in Discord, and I'll leave it at that. I don't.
Okay. Yeah. So those I that one I don't know. They may have pushed an update and it's not doing what it's supposed to, but hit them up on their users. Just email support at Fantasy Cruncher and ask them. It could be an oversight. Let's see. DeAndre Jordan on the late slate only. Vaya con Dios. Vaya con Dios. So toxic. I call him so toxic. That's what I type in chat all the time. No, Sotex, yeah, go with God on that one. I don't know the reanimated corpse of DeAndre Jordan. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, that one's all.
And somebody else was asking about, are you better than? I'm paraphrasing. Are you better than the? No. Do our guys want to play me in head to head? Probably not, because there's no advantage, right? Do I think they're better than me? Yeah, I do, but by how much?
I would,
right? And are either of us going to win across the rig? Probably not.
If we had a bracketed employees tournament in head to heads, I would expect to lose in the first or second round. Like I wouldn't take a head to head challenge against you for anything other than fun.
Yeah, everybody here is really good. Now, if you want to talk about the Dynasty NFL League, you are looking at the guy that won 2 of the last 3 years.
Well, I only drafted half my team, and we only draft rookies, and I've done fairly well on that league, so I'm kind of happy with it. But yeah, you're killing it. Oh, we gotta. By the way, that reminds me, we gotta get the B League payouts squared away.
So yes,
I guess we're just abiding by what Yahoo decided.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out because a couple of people are asking me, so I have to go look and see who it was impacting.
DeAndre Jordan is 3% optimal on FanDuel on the main slate, 2.7% optimal on DK. There is a little bit of upside in terms of the boom score, the ceiling availability for his salary. I do actually have him like 5% on FanDuel, so it's a handful of lineups. It's at 7 lineups probably. So it's fine. I don't think it's going to get there. I don't expect to see those lineups at the top of the standings at the end of the night, but I didn't want to completely wave off that question and not play because I do have it a little bit.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right, we're going to get on out of here. So hit that like button on the way out. We got so much content tomorrow. We're starting at 9 a.m. with the NHL strategy show. 10 a.m. it's the NBA strategy show. 1 o'clock MMA live before lock. At 2:30 it's the start of the deeper dive live before lock NFL combo. And then at 6, you're going to get 90 minutes of RinPack, NBA live before lock, plus another 30 minutes, all brought to you by No House Advantage. Remember, go through our link here below us, and you can get a $100 deposit match on your first deposit at No House Advantage. You can follow Terry on Twitter at DigitalB21. I am at EMac DFS, and check that out. You can retweet Stephen Leibowitz's picture of me to Adam. I'm sure Adam right around lock was like, oh, what awesome tweet did I have that got me all these likes? Oh shit, it's EMac making fun of me, right? So
what funny thing did I say that everybody likes?
And with that, it's Stokastic _ COM. Good luck, gamers.